Good evening.
I see your car out there.
Oh, yeah, like I can drive.
Oh, you Ubered it.
You humor person.
Glenn?
City. Did you get in now?
Yeah, it's in.
I'm sorry?
I thought she was asking if
you
it was
got in
in.
on Zoom. 819. Okay, 162.
So, are we being recorded yet?
Yes.
Well, then, for the record, I almost had a beer at quitting time today. And then I thought, oh, hell, I have a meeting tonight.
And I thought about that, and I thought, oh, I'll fall asleep. That ain't gonna work.
Something to be said for morning meetings.
Okay, Julie.
No, you don't do Pledge of Allegiance at a special meeting, do you?
Uh,
I mean, you can. I'm just, if
Yeah,
I'm clearing it out here or not.
but not typically, no. Good
We do
evening.
Good evening, Mick.
Totally need to make sure everybody has their microphones close to their face talking, because there was comments.
Why does it say the host has another meeting in progress? Am I using the wrong numbers?
Yes, you are. The correct numbers are on the website. I don't know where she posted the correct,
Well, then,
the new
make
Zoom
sure
link.
nobody tries to get in on those.
I thought you were gonna
things.
mail it to us.
The Zoom link.
Yeah.
I did email it.
Oh, you did? So she should have it in her email then.
No, because I only knew yours.
Oh,
Okey-dokey.
I didn't get a beep today.
No, it was immediately after the meeting. As soon as I did it, I emailed it to you.
Oh, so it was yesterday or, oh. Well, that could be. Oh, can you believe the pollen that's in the air?
No,
Wow.
you can write on things.
Like within an hour of getting the car washed.
Yeah,
My car's yellow.
I worked outside and I had to put a respirator on.
Okay, these are the same.
Do you have it in your email, Ron?
So far, I haven't even been able to log on to the internet here.
Let me see if I got emails.
I'm on the
from you.
internet. So it's working.
I'm on the internet now.
Okay, if you want to write it down, I've got it.
Okay,
Oh, it'd be too long.
what's the passcode? I'll do that one first.
7 o'clock tonight. Password
Mm-hmm. The passcode.
143541.
Uh-huh.
The ID is 848-0090-4281.
Thank you, ma'am.
I keep getting kicked off the internet.
Me.
I think you're doing it. Hello. That's what we're all just trying to discuss here.
You want the numbers here?
No, I just, it's not on the website. Yeah, it is.
Should be on the front
On the front page.
because it's a special meeting.
No, nothing from you.
It would have been from Whitewater Township Zoom or something like that.
Spam folder maybe?
I think it's called whitewaterzoom@gmail.com.
Nope, nothing.
Can you see me? I moved, I was sitting backwards.
All three fans. Yeah. Back in January.
Yes. Okay. And I have some of the stuff. I left a bunch of it on my printer at the office.
I wonder if Della even knew about the meeting.
No.
I know I haven't talked to her.
Vaughn, can you hear us okay out there? Thank you, sir. Good to see you.
Good to be back. Who's that?
Vaughn Harshfield. Mhm. He's our resident thorn, but a rose at the top. You did get the second part, right, Vaughn? Good to go?
Good to go.
Heidi, how are you?
Good to go.
All right. Lois?
I'm good.
All right. So good evening, everyone. We'll call this meeting to order at 7:01 of the June 15th, 2022 Whitewater Township Board of Trustees. Roll call when ready.
Pop,
Here.
Goss, Bennett, Glenn,
Here.
Velmuth,
Here.
So we do have a quorum. Because this is a special meeting and not all of our board members are here, there can be no changes or adjustments to the agenda. Do we have any declaration of conflict of interest? Hearing none. And let's go to public comment. Heidi, your video should either be on or off.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was trying to get it totally on.
Oh, okay, that's cool. Just let it sit still, but I'm getting dizzy watching.
Yeah, about
So do
that.
we have any public comment here in the hall?
Linda Slopsma, you guys have on your agenda, it's under new business number 8, accepting marijuana applications to delay the date to accept applications. I spoke at yesterday's meeting as well. I want to remind you all that the township's already spent $100,000 predominantly on legal fees on marijuana implementation against the documented will of the people in the township. This does not include all the time our elected officials have spent working on the issue and not tending to other critical issues. I urge you to delay accepting marijuana applications to make sure that we protect the township from additional litigation should there be a change in direction after the election in August. I also believe that everybody should keep in mind that you need to have solid plans in place to minimize the impact to the community and an enforcement plan prior to starting to accept any applications. Thank you.
Good evening. We meet again. Vicky Beam, Bags Road. Certainly, I want to agree with what Linda just said. And I've attended some of the meetings in the Planning Commission talking about what they're putting together. And it seems like a lot of time is being spent on something that is ahead of itself. If we could maybe take a pause, and I guess I would like to say take a pause on a lot of things that we're doing in this township. I know that you can't add anything to the agenda at this point, but I would love to see a moratorium being considered again. There's just a lot going on. No matter what area you read, the pressure for development is coming. It's here. It's real. You're seeing it with Acme Township and what they have going on. I mentioned yesterday about Chick-fil-A. They are now trying to backpedal on Chick-fil-A, and that was approved. And that's what I'm afraid is going to happen with a lot of what is happening and being presented in our township. Yesterday, Vern had mentioned something that I think a lot of us take for granted, we the people. And a lot of us said this yesterday during the meeting. Could we please start working together? We all live here for a reason. We want to be here. We like our rural character, maintaining that master plan that we have. But I'd also like to see us working together as a team and not all this personal agenda. The animosity that was felt yesterday, it was, you could feel it. And so let's again look at what is happening and work together to maintain what we're wanting to see happen. A lot of talk was about the campground and parks yesterday. I was pretty surprised to hear the insurance agent and the way that he talked about claims and don't worry, we have $3 million coverage. I would really like to make sure that when my granddaughters go somewhere in this township that they are safe and I don't have to worry about the fact that it maybe hasn't been inspected. And I want to reiterate what I said. I would love for this meeting to continue to be in the evening. I know this was last minute, so you don't have a full house, but to make it available so that you can hear from the citizens that live here. It is definitely a hardship to be here in a meeting during the day when most of us still work unless we are have retired. As I've mentioned before, I am not against development. We are concerned citizens that are living in this community for a reason, and we don't want the developers to take that away from us. Again, please look at putting a moratorium in place. The farmer that sold the property to all of us certainly made some money when he made that sale, but he is not going to benefit the way that a developer will. So for those that are thinking that we're keeping this in place to help the farmers or agriculture, it's actually the developers that are benefiting, and they're definitely benefiting because we don't have our house in order. Please, let's get our house in order. Thank you all very much for your time.
Anyone else here in the township hall for public comment? We'll head out into Zoom land for any of those folks out in Zoom that wishes to make a public comment. If you could kind of locate the bottom of your screen towards the right-hand side a little bit, you'll see an icon of a hand. Actually, it's this hand. And just click that button and, oh, everybody already knows how to do it. Okay, good. Connie Highmore, good evening.
Good evening. I just wanted to let you know, well, Connie Highmore, Baggs Road. When the development for Baggs Road, the condo development, was first brought to our attention, we contacted zoning administrator Bob Hall and just to ask some questions because, you know, we didn't understand how something like that could come to our neighborhood out there in rural Baggs Road. And in one of our communications with Bob Hall, he forwarded us an article about the benefits of condominium developments and planned unit developments from his personal library, hoping it would help us understand and further support the Baggs Road development. In actuality, it did just the opposite. It supports that the Baggs Road site is not a good location for a condo development. The article he forwarded us was based on a study done by George Washington University School of Business called the Walk Up, Wake Up Call, Michigan Metros. And they found a pent-up demand for walkable areas. PUDs and condominium developments offer a potential means to meet this pent-up demand for walkable areas. Walkable to retail stores, office units, parks and trails. How does Baggs Road support walkable areas? What walkable areas do they have out in the middle of farmland, 300 feet from the busiest state highway in the area? There's no retail, no parks, no trails, all private properties. There isn't even sidewalks. So the example that our zoning administrator sent us to use to support the site condo in Whitewater Township did exactly the opposite. That's how come there's so much confusion within the community about the condos. So thanks. Have a great meeting.
Thank you. And hello, Karen. Good evening.
Hello, thanks for having the special meeting tonight. Greatly appreciate it. I also want to say thank you to those who reached out to me yesterday. I felt like I wasn't talking on deaf ears for once. Again, I'm Karen Boyd from Baggs Road. Baggs Road obviously is a big deal for me, but it's not the only deal for me. Our township needs help. We all know that our township needs help. I guess I want to get one point across to the board, and unfortunately, two of the people there aren't there tonight that probably need to hear this more than anybody. Is we're not against the board. We're not against the board at all. We want to work with the board. That's our main goal, I think, is to work together and get to where we need to be. And I hope that we're on that track. Again, thanks for having this meeting. I'm sure I'll have more to say at the end of the meeting, but thank you for listening. Thank you for reaching out. It's greatly appreciated, and you're giving me hope. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from Zoom? Anyone at all? Okay, we will go to the meeting then. According to my notes, we left off on unfinished business number 2.
With that,
I would agree with that.
And according to my notes, basically what Cheryl had provided is she wants the clerk completely removed from this document, with the exception that she will securely store this application for accommodation.
that is
Is that
what,
about the gist of
that
it?
is what my notes would indicate as well. I think
Okay.
we also talked about having some language in there, just that it would be a completed package, and I basically using that form at the end of this policy, that would be in essence the checklist, that needed to be 100% completed, and that would be the submission that would be passed to you, and then for, I guess, to review for completeness, and then pass that to the clerk for filing.
And so I'm sitting at packet page 144. And so this is the red line portion of our proposed policy. And specifically, we were going to change the word from clerk to supervisor, but we had some wordsmithing to do with respect to if there was a conflict of interest, or if there was some type of denial of the application. Who could answer, or who could then say, yes, this form is completely or is completed? Originally, it was the clerk, and then the supervisor would be the backup.
My recollection,
We didn't get that far, did we? We didn't get a chain of succession, I don't think.
I don't have anything after that, right?
So if she doesn't want it, then you need some kind of chain of command between you and the next person. Okay,
Well-
it's either treasurer or trustee.
well, I don't know that would apply, because we're not making a judgment on
No, you're just
the,
filing.
so
taking and
what,
filing.
yeah, so if the form comes in to the township supervisor, fully completed, so physician's license number, the certification, the signature, we are accepting that at face value, that the physician has declared that that person has an ADA disability, whether it be permanent or temporary. And that would be the only judgment made. And the only reason for a denial would be that the physician didn't put in his number, license number by way of example. And that would be a denial. Well, that's not up for us to resolve or appeal to. That person that's applying would have to take that back to their physician and get that number.
Sure.
So I don't feel that there's any need for a process of, I think the only question I think is just how soon in advance would that.
Right, because you'd have to have time to, run it.
To run it
there,
back to the-
fix it and
yeah.
bring it back, just like if you would in a corporation. If you had, your papers, whether you're going back to work or not, you go in there and they go, oh, you're missing this, you gotta go back and get it, same thing.
Yeah,
So do you move the 48 hours or a week?
right. It was 2 days, and I was going to make a suggestion to change that 2 days to 5 business days in advance, and that seems to me to be adequate.
Yeah, because at
Turn
least
that
if you
around.
had to do something, you'd have time to.
So on 144, we'll delete the denial and the conflict of interest, because there won't be any. It's
That's-
either a yes or a no. That makes perfect sense.
Correct. That's what I would
Okay,
suggest.
makes perfect
It's
sense.
either do or don't, you don't, you just.
Right,
you
no
do a checklist,
decision to make.
right?
Got it.
And then is that also page 144 that has, is that where the timeline is, the 48 hours? Let's see, let me look here.
Where did I see that?
It is.
Are you talking about the accommodation?
Talking about the 48 hours. It's on page 143, yeah.
Well, yeah,
Notice of,
there's
notice of
yeah.
needed accommodation. It's in the last,
three,
the last paragraph, 2 lines from the bottom. Should be submitted not less than 24 hours in advance of the first meeting. And then it bleeds over to page number 144, talking about, let's see, is that where it talks about? And then the denial, which is in that second paragraph there, towards the bottom. And I think it starts in 1, 3, 6, 7th line down, middle. The township clerk will determine whether an individual's attending physician report authenticates. And then that section there is what we're talking about striking, because there's no authentication and there's no denial or appeal at that point. So,
Yep, just that it's complete.
yeah,
And you want to move the 24 hours to 5 days.
I'm suggesting that. I think that
Are you
allows
doing
somebody.
5 days or are you doing 5 business days?
I was doing 5 business days.
Okay.
But I
It makes
think
a
I can go
difference
either way
because
on it.
business is 5 days, weekends don't count.
I'm fine to change it to anything that the board desires.
72 hours is what, 4 days, 3 days, 4 days? 5 business days, I think that's plenty of time. Don't you think? Because you might already only have 3 left.
Well, role playing this out, we have a field trip to go look at marijuana facilities.
Okay.
3 out of the 5 board members are on the bus that gets hit. Now,
Hey,
there's some
humor,
applause that I
humor.
hear.
Hey, there's
some,
humor.
there's some applause that I hear. So how would those members be able to give 5 days notice before a meeting? We understand that, they're going to be laid up for 6 months. That's an extreme case.
I think you could get it in 5
I-
days.
Yeah, but
'Cause
he
I've
makes a
had
good
it
point.
happen before.
What's the difference? I mean, what's the difference? I mean, if we leave it at 48 hours, that, okay, they bring it in. I'm hoping that they bring it in complete. I think I was thinking it more that the 5 days gave them a chance to turn it around if there's a problem.
Mhm.
That's what I was thinking.
But I mean, if somebody brought it to your attention, the day before the meeting and it was complete, you still accept it. We're not saying that we would.
Why wouldn't we?
Right.
Right.
So,
And I think that was the impetus of moving from 48 hours to 24 hours is that, why wouldn't we accept it?
in that interpretation, I would agree that 24 hours is fine. I don't know that we.
'Cause we don't have a decision to make.
Right, there is no decision.
You're
It's
just
just
taking it or not.
I mean, 24 hours just says, okay, on a Tuesday meeting, it needs to be in on Monday,
Yeah.
versus showing up at 8:55 a.m.
Right.
So,
5 minutes before the meeting.
yeah, so I think maybe based on the interpretation, our discussion, I would just leave it at the 24.
What's your thought, Heidi?
At that point, it doesn't matter, because you're either gonna fix it or you're not, are you really gonna? The only thing you're gonna see what the doctor fills out. He's gonna show you. It's not like you leave with, and you don't read, if you don't read your paperwork when you leave, come on. It doesn't really matter. You could go 5 days, 5 business days, or 24 hours at this point, because it doesn't matter.
Okay.
It's either complete or it's not.
So then let's leave it at 24 hours.
That's fine.
Yes.
And then I had a yellow highlight on page 145.
Mhm.
This was not, this particular paragraph did not get changed to the discussion of 510. So I highlighted any changes that for some reason I didn't make.
So that's the only, okay,
This is about a time frame to end
Mhm.
the accommodation, right?
right.
And I, from the words there, I think Cheryl has a point. How do we know when this ends? Well, Cheryl's other point is the township shouldn't be responsible for determining somebody's application is correct or not. So why would we determine on the outbound side? And so my thought is we throw it back on the person, the
Well,
applicant.
because it's gonna be, the doctor's gonna give you a timeline. I mean, unless you don't have an end result. I mean, unless your end result is you're not getting better, it's going on and on and on and on. Oh, I gotta get up here. So it keeps going. You don't have an end result. He's not gonna give you an end result. In other words, just like when ADA starts, there's 3 different tiers. There's, are you gonna be 6 months out? Is it 10 days? Is it 6 months? Is it forever? It's just like your handicap thing. He writes on there how long he thinks you're gonna need it. It's not open-ended unless you need it open-ended. So I don't think the doctor's gonna, I think the doctor's gotta make that decision and the person's gonna know it.
So could we solve this question relatively easy
By putting a date underneath the
in the
end
application?
result.
Mhm.
You could. I mean, on all your paperwork, you have an end result, your handicap pass, your paperwork, I mean, you have an end result.
An expiration
An
date.
expiration date, but sometimes you don't have an expiration date. If you have other health issues, you might
Oh,
never
we
get better.
all have an expiration date.
Right, but yeah, but the expiration date might be permanent. So I think you leave that, you let the doctor put it in there. He's gonna put it in there.
Well, the red line came from our attorney, correct?
No,
No,
this has
okay.
not been to the
Okay.
attorney.
This hasn't
This
been to the
is,
attorney
this
yet.
is all in-house at this point. And the red line, because we formatted it into kind of mesh with our policy and procedure, the red line gets awful ugly to read. I
Well, on
apologize.
page 153, they're under, I mean, it's redlined out. Estimated end date and circumstances you believe need to change for the patient to attend in-person meetings with members of the general public. I think we just unredline that and put that into the form here, and let's see what the review comes back. If we're allowed to ask that question.
And
Right, you might not be able to ask that question. You're not supposed to ask, you're supposed to say, what can we do for you?
so 153.
It's second line from the bottom. Second red line from the set. There's like a 1, 2, 3, and then there's a 4, but the 4 is below the.
Yep.
Okay.
And so would this statement belong underneath I certify?
There
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I
There
think
you
that's a
go,
great
that
spot for
works.
it. Yep.
Or would it, I certify the above under the ADA until or expires?
There you go, either or,
Put it right there.
either or.
I like that. I think it's clear. It's
I
clear.
mean,
and
there's
it
gonna be
says-
no questions.
That solves that issue.
Well, it's not like we're not going to get a look at this again, right? This is
Right,
just to get it to the
Right.
attorney.
Right.
The attorney may have more blood on it than we do.
right, so then now this is from May, right? June, July. You might get it done by December.
Well, it's not an easy thing. There's a lot of,
Oh, right,
there's a lot of considerations to take here. So I think we have one more yellow section to deal with. And it's on page 150.
Looking at that, it's about Zoom, right?
Cheryl had made a request that the person attending remotely would not have the ability to chair the meeting.
Okay, there's a difference. What would the difference be? I mean, that would be kind of discriminating against somebody. Would it not?
I mean, if you're allowing them to be in the meeting and voting privileges, why wouldn't,
What would the
if-
difference be?
I don't see any issue with.
I
Not
don't
sure
see
that I
an
see an issue
issue.
with that. Why not chairing the meeting couldn't still be done,
I agree.
so,
Then
I think it's a non-issue for me.
yeah.
it's
it
not.
is-
I
it is
think
for
that
me.
could create issues instead of be an issue. Okay,
I totally support that.
I'm good with that.
It's almost like we're not going to discriminate until
Right, if you gotta run the meeting, then we're gonna discriminate
then we're
against
going
you
to
and you can't.
discriminate, right? Okay, so we're going to drop that completely then.
Yes.
Yep, that should be, I think
Agreed.
that's it.
I believe those were the only points that I didn't follow specific board direction on.
Answers what I got.
And so Lois, there was a motion made and seconded for us to get in discussion.
Mhm.
My recollection is that Glenn made the motion.
You did.
I did. Okay.
And Glenn, Don did the
Second.
second on it.
Okay. And was it motion as written?
Motion to forward proposed electronic meeting accommodation policy to legal for review by Pop, second by Glenn.
Okay, so it is as written then. That is the motion on the table. Everybody good?
Yep.
So you want the words as written in there instead of amending that motion to be meeting accommodation policy as amended to legal for review?
Oh, sure. That would probably be better.
Better, I
wouldn't
was
it?
just gonna say, don't we gotta amend it because we
Yeah.
just changed
Yeah,
some
it's
It's
stuff?
good catch, Lois.
Yeah, yep. So-
Amended to legal for review.
As
So you're
amended.
making that change?
Yep. I'll make that change to the original motion.
And I will second that motion.
Roll call when ready, please.
Bennett, not available. Velmuth,
Yes.
Hot,
Yes.
Glenn,
Yes.
Goss, not available.
Motion passes. So I will get that off to legal. As amended. So that brings us to new business number 1, Michigan Participating Plan Insurance. I think this begins on packet page 173. 172 maybe.
I have a question. And it might be a dumb one, but here you go. On the invoice, why is there no stamp received?
So let's follow our protocol for meetings if possible. And so we could start off with a motion and a second.
Oh, yeah, I'm
for
sorry.
Discussion.
Go
Would
ahead.
that be okay?
Go ahead.
Do you feel like
I'll-
making a motion?
I'll give the motion. Motion to review the insurance policy offered by municipal underwriters of West Michigan through Michigan Township Participating Plan at an annual rate of $33,717 as quoted April 29th, 2022.
I'll second that motion for discussion.
So there's a motion made and seconded. Heidi, did you have any questions on this?
Yes, I do. It's just a curiosity. Aren't bills normally stamped date received? I'm just trying to figure out, if this was due at a certain date, why it wasn't sent to us way earlier than it was.
So I omitted this document came to all of us in an email
Okay,
after our May meeting,
that's what I figured.
the evening after our May meeting. So I'm gonna say afternoon of May 10. We could check our emails just to confirm that. I did leave that email page out. So Cheryl did receive it via email on April 29th, according to that email, or my recollection of that.
Okay, thank you.
What begs the question then is if it was received April 29th and it was due, the premium was due June 1st. How did we miss not getting this on the May 10th agenda?
I didn't know about it to put it on the agenda.
Okay.
So I think Cheryl's comments the other day were, it's never been on the agenda. I recall that we've had a review of the insurance policy just about every year. Now, I probably missed 2019, so I really can't comment on that. But I believe this $33,000 number has been paid already.
So we're renewing it, but we already paid it.
It's already renewed. According to this document, it renewed June 1st. But that doesn't mean we can't review the limits, right? And that's where some of my questions come in at.
I was just a little concerned of his comments at the podium. You usually don't air your laundry. If somebody wanted to know how much insurance we had, maybe they should have done it on a personal note.
Anytime I've been involved with a claim, you had to authorize your release of limits.
That is true.
Must be different in the municipal world.
Oh, it must be.
Must be different. So I have a question, other than the ones that you've already raised. How come this wasn't on the May agenda? But if we take a look at back at page 172. Excuse me, 173.
I thought you were gonna say.
The first paragraph indicates the renewal date is 6/01. Then if we jump down to page 176. It would appear that our renewal date is April 29th. I wonder which one is which.
Oh. Interesting.
So if it's
Well,
April 29th, are we late? Do we owe charges?
well, hold on, let's call your attention on page 176 to the left side of that. Go over to, you've got entity name, entity number, policy number, then you have an effective date and an expiration date. So I would
Oh, I see
venture to
that.
say that this is the date that the policy was
Gotcha.
signed by U.S. Specialty Insurance Company as
Yeah.
authorized. to offer.
Understood.
I don't think there's any inconsistency there.
Good eye. My next question was on page 184. Paul specifically addressed this because the snowmobiles have a value under $25,000.
Correct, that's what was said.
They don't need to be itemized on the inland marine document, which is on page 185.
That is my recollection of his comments as well.
Isn't a snowmobile usually considered a motorized vehicle, not a boat?
So my first introduction to inland marine was a number of years ago, where we had service trucks that had lots of tools in them, costly things. And then my insurance agent asked for an inland marine schedule to itemize those things. And at that time, I think it was anything over $1,000, a single tool over $1,000. But that was 35 years ago. So inland marine must be like an itemized list that you can increase your limits on without affecting your liability limits of the automobile, for example. Does that help?
Okay.
I think, yeah, I just Googled what is inland marine on an insurance policy, and it paraphrases what you had just said, Ron. I think you would get hung up in the definition of marine in it. Inland marine insurance is property coverage for material, products, or equipment that moves or is transportable and or is instrumental in transportation or communication. So I think it's a misnomer that you would think it's water related when it's
Right.
just, it seems to be a descriptive term in the industry. So
Put your golf carts underneath your cars. And if it's electric or not,
What page is that on?
it's on 184.
Line item 28, you mean?
Mhm.
Mhm. But you also see that it's a zero
Right.
value,
Because he
just
said
like the
anything under,
snowmobile.
right, because he said
is
anything
that line
under
16
25.
snowmobile, and that's zero as well.
Yeah.
Right.
That's consistent.
So I'm thinking that the golf cart too falls under the value limit. Does that
Yep.
sound reasonable?
Yep.
I mean, I don't know how much golf carts are. I suppose you can get them for 25 grand.
Oh, yeah.
Any further questions on that page? So my next question was on page 186, unless somebody has one before that. specifically broad form coverage for valuable papers, records, coverage. Mr. Olson himself actually had this asterisk that we could go to higher limits. He did respond indicating that it might not be affordable.
Yes, and I think he also said that the question becomes is, the effectiveness, but also are there valuable papers and records being electronically stored, in a safe, secure spot, a cloud or whatever, so that doesn't be necessarily the physical product any longer. But he did say it was quite pricey. I'm using my word, not his, but it was, there was a large cost for very limited incremental coverage.
So I've, again, dealt with this at one other municipality where the historical records, and so this would be like the tax roll from 1890 was stored. And the room that they stored it in actually had a water-based fire sprinkler system in it. That malfunctioned. And so all of those books, and I mean, there were shelves of them before electronic media was even around, got destroyed, damaged. We don't have water fire sprinklers here. So our loss would be probably ash, in a fire situation, to be quite honest.
Oh, absolutely.
And what we would lose is anything that wasn't on electrical data, unless that electrical data is not backed up, in cloud or offsite or whatever. So in retrospect, I think 250,000 is probably enough for us.
Yeah, I'm just kind of walking my mind through the hall here, and I can't imagine that you have a store of documents or records. I mean, other than the election results, the timekeeping on those is, but those aren't allowed to be taken off premise or stored electronically. So that's just a risk that you run on that.
Hopefully they're in a firebox.
Yeah, I can't answer that specifically, but
I
it
can't
seems,
either.
I mean, I'm trying to, I can't wrap my mind around that. There's $250,000 in value in here. So I'm in the same position. I think I'm comfortable with that coverage.
I'm good. Hopefully they're in a fireproof box and that's just thrown in a paper box.
Well, for me, as you move away from 1900 or 1870, you're probably referring to the documents less often. That'd be my thought.
Yeah, that too.
My next question was on page 187, unless anybody has something before that. And it was the actual line item number 1. And now we're talking about values of buildings. And this building replacement cost appears to be about $465,000. I don't think we could build a building of this size for $465,000 today.
Nope.
So I wondered if this coverage was much like we might have in our home, replacement cost.
I was gonna say,
I'm
is
sure.
that with the armies all the way to the right?
I don't know about that. And so, again, with my policies, I think I have to be within 10 or 15%. I have to have it valued, or in other words, I'm paying the correct premium within 10 or 15% of the actual cost recovery. And so Paul did elaborate on this, that in the municipal world, you can borrow building value from different buildings. So for example, if we go down to the fire station, which is listed at,
656, is that our
yeah,
83?
there you go, Heidi. Yep, line item number 2. So Paul indicated that just between 2 buildings, we have about $1 million worth of coverage. That's certainly enough.
I would think so.
Okay.
What's really interesting is your dugouts are rated at 2 different costs. And you don't even have one.
Well, isn't there a dugout at the small field?
Yeah, there is. One's rated at 8168, the other just as benches right now, and that's 6382.
Yeah, that probably wasn't updated after the building had been pulled down. Did anybody else have questions on the insurance?
I did not.
Heidi?
No, I'm just gonna make a note that once that other dugout's up, he's gotta come out and reassess.
So you'll track that?
I'm gonna try. Someone else is in the room that could track it, so I'm hoping they're listening.
Are we ready to vote?
I am.
I am.
Roll call when ready.
Goss.
Yeah, you'll
There's
have to sign
feedback.
on without,
Sorry.
you'll
See, I
have to
had to-
sign on without voices.
Not available. Philmuth,
Yes.
Glenn,
Yes.
Pop,
Yes.
Bennett. Not available.
Moving on to Tobin and Company, new business number 2. I'll make a motion to approve the expenditure of up to $7,000 for the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2022 audit and the F-65 preparation, and authorize the clerk to sign the engagement letter dated 4/26 of 2022.
Second the motion for conversation.
Motion made, seconded. Further discussion?
Okay. After the email I got today, I don't know how to react to this.
What's your thought?
Well, first I'm authorizing the clerk to do something. Maybe she'll do it, maybe she won't, after the email I read today. Okay. But why am I voting again on something 4/26/2022? What happened last month?
I don't know.
Did we pay this bill already too? Or sign the
Mm.
contract?
Not to my knowledge.
How long have we used Tobin and Company?
This administration began in November of 2020, and they were here then.
When did you say it started?
This administration started in November, I'm sorry, of 2012. Thank you, Heidi.
Thank you.
And Tobin and Company was here then.
So this will, this will be in essence their 10th year of doing
It's time to
the,
reevaluate.
doing the F-65 is a statutory requirement, correct?
As I understand it, F-65 is like our 1040. That's how we report.
Okay, that's how I kind of took it. Good, good analogy for me to kind of frame the two. So, and then if I've read right, this has to be done 6 months after the close of our fiscal year, which would have been March 31st, 2022. So it has a due date into the state of September 30th, 2022.
Correct.
Okay, so I have an opinion that I'd like to share just from being in my corporate world. I have never been used to having year-end auditors come in, third-party auditors come in and do it for more than a year or two, you know, typically 1 to 3, depending on the, you know, whether they were competent, if, you know, they're in for a year. Our propensity to not go longer than that was getting in a groove, so to speak. It was always nice to have a new set of fresh eyes looking at the documents, because part of this is not only an evaluation of compliance, but it's also suggestions for hopefully some best practices or things that we could do differently to improve our reporting and improve our accountability. But I just don't know that, you know, at this late date, I'm not going to be the one to say that I know that you could find somebody, you know, even if you didn't. I mean, it has to be done. It has to be done to meet the requirements. However, I have reservations about continuing to use the same CPA firm for that full year-end audit. And I don't know that there's anything, and I know that's not what the motion is here, but it's germane to this in terms of if there was an option to do something different. Not sure. I think that might change my opinion on this piece.
And so I have reached out to 2 different firms.
Oh, you have?
Yeah, and I've heard back from both. Both are reserving a proposal until they could do some further checking. So in other words, these things are generally put into a schedule. So
Yes.
we were notified back in April. This is middle of June. So obviously waiting a few more days, 15, 16 more days isn't gonna matter.
Nope, and we budgeted $7,500 and she's approving 7,000. But we don't really, it says total cost for audit will not exceed 7. But okay, I guess I don't even know what she did. Apparently she's already paid, signed, sealed, and delivered this, and has a contract and everything. If the letter's dated 4/26, because don't we pay our bills in 60 days? 30 days, 60 days?
Not sure I follow what you're asking.
Well, how far did she take this process? Because she wants to be, the clerk wants authorization to sign the engagement letter.
I don't think we've signed the engagement letter, so there would be no reason to pay.
She gave us one.
The letter of understanding in
Letter
the
of
packet is
in-
not,
you know,
is not
it's in
executed,
here.
is not executed in the packet here. So,
No,
Right.
so I need to take that at face value. So,
So we do have a motion out there. However, we could bring this back next month and see if we've heard from the other two respondents.
In essence, tabling it to the July meeting.
That would be a proper term.
I would be in favor of that.
I'd be in favor of that. 'Cause
And it may come back that these other two firms, just can't work us in at this point, right? I mean, that may be possible. And Heidi, you reached out to several accounting firms with regard to ARPA questions, so you might even have a better list to contact than I do. So who made the original motion, Heidi?
You did?
Yeah, she did the insurance.
That's right. So I'm going to withdraw my motion then.
I will withdraw my second.
Is there an alternate motion?
I would make a motion that new business item number 2, Tobin and Company audit engagement letter be tabled till our July
12, maybe? Is that the second Tuesday in July? Does anybody have a calendar? I left my phone at home.
Oh, I can look on it. Next meeting is July 12th.
to July 12th. Potentially review alternative services.
Okay,
I'll second it.
motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Roll call when ready.
Bennett, not available. Glenn,
Yes.
Goss, not available. Volmuth,
Yes.
Pop,
Yes. I'll make a motion to accept the ARPA survey questions as modified by the Whitewater Township Board at its June 15th, 2022 meeting, and to provide printed copies to the treasurer to be included in the summer tax envelopes.
I'll second. Oh,
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded.
I'll start. I'd like to commend Heidi and the team that she worked with to pull this together. It was an amazing effort in a very short period of time. I happen to find the survey very comprehensive. I think it covered points that we wanted to, and while we're sending it out, I think there were some potential areas of feedback that would help guide us in maybe some other areas. So what job well done to that team.
Thank you.
So
Do we need to make any changes at the table?
I am personally satisfied with the survey as is.
I have a couple of recommendations. Packet page 201. The word use in the second paragraph. Whitewater Township received $294,000 from ARPA, the American Recovery Plan, and would like your input to determine where the funds are to be directed for the use of the township residents. I'm asking the board to consider replacing the word use with the word benefit, as the public will not likely use the funds themselves, but they would benefit from the use of the funds. And I think we have at least one
You have all three.
that wish to remain anonymous. So
It came up
I
in
think there's at least
conversation,
one
so we
person
didn't want
that
your
we could
name
ask
on it.
about intent of that paragraph. If the board felt so moved to ask the question.
Ask it.
I would like to ask it because I think hearing you say that with that word seems to, I think listening to it, I think that's a better fit than the word use. Not that I was objected to the word use, but I do think benefit may be a better choice of words there.
I would like to clarify, no, we didn't want to be anonymous, we just didn't feel that we needed to have our name on it. That's clarification.
Okay. Hello, anonymous.
How do you feel about the word change?
I have no problem with it. We
Okay.
were all easy. When anybody wanted to change anything, we were all flexible.
Same page. Broadband. Expand the internet for all. And then childcare falls right below it. Okay, so I was thinking we either needed a period and a line, or we were just
Line.
going to give broadband to childcare.
Oh, that might be good.
Either one could apply. So we'll put a period and a blank, right? Is that kind of the idea?
Period and
Wait a
check
minute,
line.
the other ones don't have
Yeah,
periods,
you don't
so,
need a period, you just need a line.
so we just need a line. Mhm. Okay, instead of squinting, I could blow this thing up. Okay. Does anybody else have anything?
And I just caught the typo in 2B in the hiking trails, Quiet Sands area, Lassie Trail, and
It's actually the Sand Lakes Quiet Area.
Sand Lakes Quiet Area. Okay. And then aren't we missing a letter in Tobago?
Tobico?
Tobago, thank you.
Are we?
Is that spelled right?
I don't believe it's spelled right.
Hold on, I'll look.
PET.
Do you know how to spell those?
I thought it was PET, but
I got it.
Good catch. I didn't catch that.
Petobego.
oh, I increased my font too.
What was the correct spelling, Heidi?
Petobego.
Yeah, that's better. Tobico.
And Lois, what was Sands Lake?
Sand Lakes.
Sand Lakes Quiet.
Quiet area.
Lakes with an S. Okay, thank you.
So I have one just above that.
Okay.
I'm getting a cheat sheet here for you, honey bunny.
Number 2. Whitewater Township resources you've used in the past 5 years. Circle all that apply. So let's say on the average rambunctious person, And I've used every one of these in the past 5 years.
You want to check mark if all apply?
Well, I'm thinking about limited funds. And I'm thinking that our survey is meant to kind of draw in how many people use, the batting cage, for example, and how many people used maybe the camping park or Tobico. But if we extend out the time so great, what are the chances that everybody has used? And then we can't filter down a number that helps us.
So are you suggesting, or maybe that a timeline of one might be too short, but two might be an appropriate response to a 2-year period?
And so actually, what would we use this information for? But yes, I am thinking
Yeah,
a different timeline. That's my thought.
I saw the value of this question, kind of giving us a pulse check on frequency of and density into any gravitation towards one area or 2 areas or 3 areas. So,
So you
but
think
to your
5 years
point,
is too long?
I can see it. I think I can see both sides of that. But if we're really faced with the now and present, could that be, what's been used in the last 2 years? Is that more reflective of current?
That's what I'm thinking, because not many, what did people actually do the last 2 years? We don't even know.
Yeah, I'm okay with changing that to 2. I can see your point. To get us the information we need, 5 years probably gives a different slant on it than just something in the last year or 2.
Or could we actually ask, how many times have you used each of the following venues in the past 5 years?
That's an interesting concept.
Which-
I think that my concern, I like that as a pollster, I think I would like that. If I'm filling that out as a citizen, that may dissuade me from doing it versus just making a circle. I
I was thinking it might cause stress. Well, did we use it 11 times or
Right.
9 times?
so-
Yeah, see, did you hear? What if you have dementia? I think we gotta remember that surveys always are soothing, simple as
I
possible.
think circling would give us what we need. I don't
Okay.
know that.
Yep, I was just trying to throw out
Right.
different ideas to see how we might get the information we were looking for. Because really, I think earlier on, don't we say something about the top 3? Is that what I'm kind of remembering? And so I really thought that was apropos, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what are the top 3 things
Yep.
that you think we should be spending money on?
Yeah.
So I like 2 years. If everybody else likes 2 years.
I'm comfortable with 2 years.
Okay. What else did you have, Don?
Unless there's a spelling error that I haven't caught, I'm
I know, I've read this thing so many times, I'm like, oh. Go for it.
On the ranking top choices, there's nothing in there asking if one of your top choices is anything to do with any parks or recreation. But then your second question, there's tons of stuff in there about have you used all these resources, unless I'm missing it.
Well, let's see, what would you put that under? Other,
Where's the first one? First omission that you pointed out, Melissa?
It's the same omission. I'm just stating that on the first question, the top ranking list,
Mm-hmm.
nothing in that list is listing out anything to do with trails or the parks or campgrounds or anything to do with.
so
parks or
how
rec.
could we put that
I
under
can-
one?
I can see your point. I mean, I interpreted community facilities as being that, to that effect.
That's, I think, what the ladies were getting at, but, we tried to group everything so that you would, it wasn't,
Can you be closer to your microphone?
I'm
We gotta
sorry.
get her the lapel microphone.
it's okay, I'll go closer.
No, I mean, we have it, might as well use it.
All right. We were grouping categories. So I don't, could it fall under community facilities? Because we own the parks? If not, do you guys want to put something in there as, because we did put there upgrade town hall building. So do you want to just go put something under like recreation? Because we didn't really, it's not a, the way I don't know how to use this word. We grouped them in, Denise, how do we do this? We grouped it so that it wasn't, one was telling you what we wanted you to, what we needed to know from you, but this was more or less on a bigger scope. Because we were only taking, you could only
Heidi,
give
was
us
the
3
intent,
things.
was the intent that I'm making an assumption, which I probably shouldn't, was the intent on community facilities?
I would think so,
Driving towards
because,
park.
well, I
and
would think
park and
that's where
rec.
your parks would be.
So would it be,
How about
Would it-
slash rec? Recreation? Or recreation, because that covers trails?
I mean, if the intent was to loop those in there, would it say community parks and recreation facilities?
How about if we
If
take?
that's what the intent
I
was.
mean, that's what
can't-
the intent was, because we had to condense it. We couldn't go crazy with stuff because we were running out of room and we had to keep it, 1 page on each side. So if you want to add that, which I have no problem adding it,
So I like what you just said, Heidi, and
recreation, communities / recreation facilities.
know that you were running out of room. And I like what Melissa said. And so I offer, we have one line item here that deals with schools. And I'm not sure we need to get off into that with our limited amounts of funds. What happens if we replace learning loss programs for 18 and under in schools with park and recreation facilities? Because to me,
We shouldn't
community
be doing
facility-
anything for the schools that are tax funded. Is that what you're thinking?
Well, I don't know how we would implement something like that.
That's what I was thinking.
We don't, I've never had input to the school district in that manner.
Right.
Right?
It's a different taxing entity too. Ladies, what do you think? Because,
Mel-
go ahead.
Melissa, how would you like to have park and recs represented?
In any way, just stipulating if it's part, and maybe me personally, I would say, if you want to keep the community park facilities as one entity, because that's kind of alluding to our park, our campground park as a facility, right? And a recreation where you can then call out things like the trails, the baseball. That are more on the
We defined it on the bottom.
Where's that, Heidi?
We define more of what each entity is on the bottom.
You mean under number 2?
Yeah,
Okay,
so if we kept community facilities, how would you put okay, so let's think of it. Walking trails, hiking trails, bike trails. You're all in a recreational standpoint. Camping is recreational. Maybe put all recreation or recreational facilities, because we're not really pinpointing certain things on the top of this survey. So what if we just?
Keep it
re-
general as.
Keep
your
it general and
thought.
simple. So instead of learning loss program for 18 and under in the schools, which I understand that completely because they're separate taxing body. They have their own, they get their own everything. So why don't we just put recreation? How about recreation and outdoor facilities? Anybody else got a better word for that?
Recreation and park facilities.
There you go. That more defines it. Is that all right, Melissa?
That's fine.
I mean, we took advice from everyone we could find.
Thanks for pointing that out, Melissa. Ooh, that's not park fatalities, it's park facilities.
I know, I just did that. Oops.
Thank you, spell checker.
Yeah.
That's not funny.
All right, I have one question,
Okay,
and this goes to the board.
where,
We're asking the clerk to do something here,
where?
where it says, please email clerk at Whitewater Township or call the township office at 231-267-5141 and ask to be put on the email list. Is
So
that gonna
that's,
be?
that's in the next paragraph, right?
Right, I'm sorry,
Next
that's on the
page.
back page.
All right, so I will admit I have a lot of yellow on that paragraph.
Well, I was okay till I got the email today directing me that I couldn't ask her to do anything, so I don't know how to address this.
You can make it supervisor.
Okay, gotta change the supervisor, ladies
mean-
and gentlemen.
I don't care. Or just board. You could make it just board. Do you want to start up a Gmail account just for ARPA?
Might as well, because we can't ask her to do anything, so how are we gonna track the survey?
Well, let's leave.
I
people
get it,
out of
Ron, but I still
let's
have to think
focus
about
on-
it.
Well, I mean,
Here's a solution, so, okay, if we put the supervisor on there, now we're bothering you, putting more work on you, so maybe we should open a.
well, somebody's got to administer it, no matter where the mail or correspondence goes,
Okay, well, we
right?
didn't know how to do that, so you're gonna have to help us out with that. We're just residents. So what did you have in your yellow?
Delete it in its entirety.
Okay,
And so I had maybe asking to consider replacing the current paragraph with, thank you for taking time to communicate with the township board about community needs. The master plan is being updated now. If you would like more information, please email supervisor, the board, zoning administrator, maybe planning commission person, right? Or call the township offices and ask to be put on the email list for notification of important events or notices in the township. And then I separated the next paragraph, letting people know that meeting and agenda packets are out about 5 days in advance of the township meeting, and you can download it from the website.
did you want to put business days?
We could put business days. And then I actually recommended dropping the interest checklist that follows this paragraph.
The
Or at
whole
lea-
thing? The
Or
whole-
at least relocating some of the questions. Because for example, internet access at your home and business, we probably already asked that up above, right?
Yep.
So I thought maybe that one was repetitive, maybe an easy one. Yeah.
And internet access, some people don't have it, but they don't care. They don't want it. So that's what, if you want internet access, people would say, no, I do not.
And so likely they would rate that one pretty low, maybe not even eclipsing the top three, right?
I see the point.
We really won't be able to develop an internet plan. That's going to be set by the feds. Because they're the ones that are really building the backbone and middle mile. The only thing the township is getting involved in is from the street drop to the house. And I'm not going to pay $100 a month to get the service.
Is that what it's gonna be, $100 a month?
More than that even. So what do we think?
So
I
you wanna-
know that Ardella, back to this paragraph here, I know Ardella really wanted to have a focused survey, which you do. And this paragraph is really just, I think, my interpretation was informing the general public of the other possibilities of involvement within the community.
Correct.
Is that kind of the right read?
Yep.
So I think we just kind of take that one paragraph, and if we were to create smaller paragraphs that highlighted each. Like first, I would start off with thank you for filling this out. Then I would recommend a new paragraph, master plan. And there, I think the appropriate person would probably be the planning commission person or zoning.
They'll put in there each individual.
No, I'm thinking that we say either reach out to the planning commission chair or we reach out to the zoning administrator. And although I don't know who is going to actually create any public input sessions, but I believe it would be the planning commission themselves are going to say, okay, Bob, are you available on the 19th? Yep, I can make it. Sue, what about you? Are you available on the 19th? So I think that information is going to come from the planning commission. And so I would recommend planning commission chair. Put that email address in there. Thoughts?
I think it's initially tied to them, so that's where it starts, so it makes sense. It's intuitive.
You're
Heidi?
not signaling out anyone.
Heidi, what?
I just said you're not throwing it all on one responsibility of one person. So that's a good thing.
And then the meeting and meeting agenda and packet, that would have its own paragraph. And so we could draw more attention to each one of those items by putting them in their own paragraph. I don't know if they'd be grammatically correct.
If you're interested in it, being involved in the community, following are the, the planning commission. Yes. Any development, grant writing, and, yeah.
That's exactly what I was thinking with that one big block paragraph, is that, I might not want to read that whole thing.
I am interested in following.
Mhm.
I was hoping that people who want to volunteer on the boards or the commission, the planning commission, there are people who might be interested. They just throw a little check there. Because through the development of, the development through the local, volunteer position can maybe guide someone into being a board trustee or running for office.
Yeah, that's way outside of this scope.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's way outside of ARPA, way outside of it.
And that's the objection we're getting, Denise.
Yeah, I think we just remain focused, and you've done a great job remaining focused on the ARPA during the question section of the survey. And now I see this last paragraph really as being just letting people know of the other possibilities within the township. I don't think it is, while it is part of the survey, it's not part of the survey questions. So I think you've done a good job at getting that separated out there, but yet still letting people know that there are other ways to be involved. And I think to draw more attention, we make the paragraph smaller or bullet points. And that way people say, oh yeah, planning commission. Well, I'm interested in that little section right there. So that's what I'll read.
Makes sense to me. Break it up.
Break it up a little bit on the back. It might flow a little better for reading. You might not lose
Yeah.
because you're already pushing it with
I-
2 pages.
I see that. And so again, that supports deleting the next checklist, right? So depending on how many lines we actually create there, maybe you only want to take out, 2 or 3 things out of that checklist. Like, for example, access to your home or business and actually developing the infrastructure plan, we won't be a part of. That's going to be to somebody else completely. But volunteering, grant writing, meetings and, and township notices. I think we've already covered that one in another place. So that might make room to add the paragraphs in.
Hey, we have to, are we staying up all night and redoing this? Because she wants this tomorrow. And if we don't put it in her mailbox tonight with a time, date stamp on it, we might be too late. Today was the deadline.
So how is this created? Is it created in
You have to ask Vicky.
it's a Word document?
Did you look at, did you
So the
look,
other question that I have is tax bills won't go out until next week sometime.
July 1st.
Yeah, so what is the actual reason for 6:15 deadline? Is that thinking that you guys had to print them all? Because I don't want to put that on the treasurer's office, right?
That is absolutely why everything has to be done lined up, because
Soon, right?
it takes a lot of time to get the newsletter together
And so,
and folding and printing and,
That-
and the news and the tax bills.
so
Okay,
that was going to
so-
be my next question is, if I printed these, would you prefer me not fold them or fold them?
I'm not going to respond to this.
Okay,
I'm the deputy treasurer. I'm not the treasurer. Thank you.
that's fine.
okay, off the record, Lois, is it easier to give you something folded or unfolded when you're putting it in the tax bill?
She said she didn't want to answer. That's fine.
Okay, you don't want to answer. We were trying to help you do some work, so, okay, that's all right. We'll just figure it out later. I don't know
Yeah,
what to tell you.
so
Ryan.
we'll get it printed and honestly, by the time I print 3,000 copies of this, it'll take a while anyway. I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand up.
Can I volunteer my time so it can be done the correct way and help the treasurers, they go out in a timely manner?
Yeah, I can do some, next week I can.
Oh, we have a folding machine here. So all I would do is print them and put them in the folding machine at about 50 pieces. And-
Exactly.
The issue
I'm
is-
done.
Oh, well, okay, so we have a folding machine, all right? Christ was just being thought of when this thing was made, okay? So it's a little on the old side. And sometimes if you fold multiple pages together, it doesn't like to work so better. So,
I will volunteer my time if need be to help make sure this goes out.
Next
Okay.
day,
Somebody pick me up. I'll help you.
so I think we can get it covered.
Need a vote.
So if you can get me the changes quite quickly, you know, what color paper were you thinking that this might be printed on? Because you've got nice, beautiful, I'll say peach. Okay. No, we can print it in color. Mhm. That was my thought of your intention. Mhm. Don?
I'm on board with it. I think you've got a plan.
Okay. So I think we did start this off with a motion. And did I make it?
Yes. And it already said in there as modified, so it
Yep.
pretty much already covers.
And did somebody second it, obviously?
Yep, phones.
Belmouth did. So are we ready to vote?
Yes.
Yep.
Any final questions?
You guys all good with that?
Roll call when ready.
Pop,
Yes.
Goss, not available. Velmuth,
Yes.
Bennett, not available. Glenn,
Yes.
Motion passes.
You get most of those, Vicky, or do you need? Okay.
And if you would like, Vicky, I can, with respect to the last paragraph, I can show you how I have it blocked out if you're interested, but really, it's just, instead of one paragraph, it's three. Thank you, master plan, agendas.
Which might keep people going all the way to the end.
All right, let's see, we are on new business number 4, High Prairie Park proposed closure of playground due to safety concerns. I will go ahead and make this motion as written. Motion instructing the Park and Recreation Administrator to close the playground area to public use at the High Prairie Park due to ongoing equipment safety deficiencies and install signage to that effect.
I'll second that motion. Discussion.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? So I do see somebody from Park and Recs here. We have some questions. We did just get the inspection reports, I believe. What, on Tuesday? I'm sorry, Monday? Monday.
Afternoon, late.
So
It was.
did everybody have an opportunity to read those?
I did.
I stopped at page 1 when it said it failed CPSC and ASTM.
Yeah, I stand by my earlier comments and even more so now. Again, it's what you know and when you know. We have equipment there that is failing in inspection. And I would maintain that we have lucky charms that we haven't had an issue. But
Charms,
It,
horseshoe.
the
I'm
situation.
sorry,
is-
Heidi.
I'm sorry. I said it's more like having a horseshoe around your neck.
It's not passing the standards. And if we know something is not in compliance, we need to fix it. It's a liability issue. It's one thing to have something happen and not know about it. Not that that's even a plausible defense in most cases, but the fact that we knew about it and we're not acting on it, I think is irresponsible. And so we're not shutting down the entire High Prairie Park. We're just shutting down the playground area. And I would hope with the sensitivity that the team moves fast to get the fixtures, get quotes to get the fixtures up to speed, and then we get an inspection that passes.
And when they do the inspection, I'd like to see if if this park isn't gonna be ADA efficient, then I don't want to see any ADA in the inspection. Because you're inspecting the park as it is, it's not an ADA compliance park. And we just dump more sand there because in most of the infractions here, our sand does not meet ADA requirements.
I mean, the reports that we got sent were from 2019. They encompass those. There were 3 separate reports. The playground structure at the beach in Whitewater Township Park, which was closed. They pulled everything out of there. The Whitewater Township Park playground was cordoned off because it didn't meet.
And subsequently rebuilt.
Correct. And then we had some issues with the distances and the clear zones, I guess is the right term for that. And then now we find out that High Prairie has been in the same situation with multiple issues, any of which could be considered severe. And I think we need to take a pause and fix something that we know is broken.
Comments, Heidi?
Well, I read a bunch of rules for the past 3 days on playground equipment. How would we consider ourselves? Would we consider ourselves property owners? Would we consider ourselves managers? What would be our responsibility?
I think we're the owner.
We're the owner. Well, we own it, then it's our duty. We got to do duty of care, negligence, liability, and damages. We get all of it on one plate. We're responsible.
But according to the insurance agent, that's no big deal because we're insured.
Okay, That guy,
That
that
doesn't
really
make it
frosted
right.
me, but
That doesn't make it right. or
it doesn't
reduce the
make, right now,
liability.
I'm looking at here's how I'm looking at this. It's woeful right now because we know we have a problem. A good lawyer could consider it malicious intent, but we haven't gained anything, but maybe our gain is we haven't done anything. I mean, it's a play on words. But we have to eliminate the risk we have. I want a playground inspection. Why can't we have a playground inspection and see where we're at right now? You dump more sand, you cleaned it all up. The only problem I have is somebody said they moved monkey bars. It's monkey bars there. Why can't we just get a park inspection? Is it that hard?
Well, to my knowledge, nothing has been moved since these inspections. So
But I
whatever
don't have
clearance,
anything that says that in writing.
I'm sorry,
I don't have anything in writing that says that.
that says we haven't moved anything.
Well, that's not what I heard the other night in the meeting. I heard that we moved the monkey bars. I didn't hear when. I didn't hear at what time.
So then the burden of proof would be on them that it was moved.
Guess so.
Gotcha. And so my impression was that this park was still closed from 2019. That was my impression until we got the sand donated. And I'm thinking, we should have yellow tape around that.
We just had cleanup there too.
So thinking about Park and Recs a little more globally, we know that we budgeted some money for cleanup at Lossy Road Trail and Battle Creek Natural Area that probably won't be used because the prices come in, and thanks to Melissa, under what we had kind of budgeted for, at least 20 grand, right?
Correct. So there's your money to fix and repair if needed, but we need an inspection and it's because we flunked, it's got to be certified.
So I don't think we start with an inspection. I think we start with engineering. How would we build something? How would we build a new playground? We would start with the conceptual
Kill
plan.
two birds with one stone, so we don't have to go back and put something new and then re-inspect.
I think Ron's talking about project management. Please continue.
Yeah, and that's how would we build it if it was not there? We would start with the conceptual plan. What would Park and Recs like to see there? And then we have an actual engineer do this. I'm sure there's a playground engineer. I had no idea there were playground rules, to be quite honest with you. I
I'm
didn't
sure
know.
there's an engineer too.
So we've got some leftover money. Why can't we as a board say, while Park and Recs might like to have something else done, we see this as a higher priority. And instead of saying we're going to close it due to safety concerns, what happens if we say we've closed it due to remodel?
I'm okay, just as long as I don't have to.
But see, that's a whole different connotation, isn't it?
Mhm.
Okay, so we recognize a problem. We're making a corrective action plan. Yep, we are going to have to tape it off temporarily, but we're going to say it's under construction.
Mhm.
Everybody understands under construction. And maybe if we decide that we're going to keep just the equipment that's there, maybe all we have to do is simply move the monkey bars and then
Expand the outside borders or do
Right.
whatever we have to do to.
I've
at
provided lots of pictures. I don't know if they've ever made it to Park and Rec or not of ADA.
Could almost go,
Playgrounds.
you might be able to go ADA at that point too.
And
Baby
we may not
swing,
want to do
special
that.
swing,
I-
might
I'm not suggesting that the board make that decision. That really belongs with Melissa's group in Park and Rec.
Maybe bring it back as a new, hey, we put the park under construction, we're going ADA. It's an idea.
It's an idea, but we might be,
You're gonna have a problem going ADA with your sand. I'll just tell you that.
yeah, but ADA material is not that expensive.
No,
No. So even though my motion is to close it due to safety, what would the board think about taking some of this residual money? Even if we had to kick in more out of
General fund.
general fund to get this accomplished.
I'm on board, but I want to see a directive, an objective, a goal. I want to see somebody following it each step along the way. And I want to make sure that we're not.
You're losing me here.
Okay. I will
No,
go
I
with
mean,
I'm sorry, but
I've
I'll
only
go-
got limited time.
I get. but
Melissa's only got limited time.
I get it. I want to see a completion. I don't want to be sitting here in another year going, well, the park's still closed. So I want to make sure somebody's following this all the way to end. That's all.
Are you sitting on your hands?
Gee, thanks.
No, because you could volunteer.
Nope, they got a committee for that.
Okay,
Committee's got to start finishing. They want projects, bring the project. I want to watch it go. I shouldn't have to go hold hands.
I am, I'm liking this idea, because it does accomplish several things. Number one, we have an opportunity to correct the deficiencies, but at the same time, we know that things are going to have to change to correct those deficiencies based on the inspection form. So why not take this as an opportunity to re-engineer it, not just as a Band-Aid type of fix, but for a long-term solution that we hopefully don't have to revisit again. And that gives Melissa and her team a chance to lay that out and within a scope of funds that appear to be available and we were ready to spend on the parks and the trails. And so I think an applicable use would be to start looking at this design and what can that park now look like? Is there a room to bring that out a few feet and maybe, add another piece of equipment or so? But I think we do have to coordinate off and hopefully that will spur the development as fast as possible. But I am in support of that redevelopment of this part of that. Do both things.
What I don't want to see is drive by and all the equipment's gone. Oh, we're just gonna redo this. Okay, that's why I wanna, whatever you come up with, Pratt Committee, I wanna know what's going on.
well, if we remove it, can we put it in the driveway?
I don't care what, I just don't wanna go, oh, well, we just took everything and threw it out because we're just gonna redo the whole thing. No, this isn't a redo. This is make it better and fix it and get it inspected.
So Melissa, if we were to eliminate one piece of equipment, instead of cordoning off the entire thing, if we were to eliminate one piece of equipment, now I've heard several times it was monkey bars. I don't know that for a fact,
Well,
but
you
if
don't
we were
know.
to just cordon off that particular attraction, would we be in compliance? Or don't know?
No.
Uh-huh.
It's just, it's.
More or
this
in
way.
compliance? Because this is,
So, okay,
we
and
gotta-
I say compliance, and it's really not even in compliance. If you notice the beach playground, the recommendation on that inspection was close it, don't let children play on it. 'Cause it's-
Okay, we're not talking about the beach,
And I-
because you'll start to
I'm
confuse people.
I'm differentiating between what the inspection report said. There was, my inspection says, these are unsafe and should be closed immediately, which we did. Then there's guidelines, and there's ADA, and these are the clearances, zonings, and here's the guidelines, and you're within so many feet or inches of tolerance of these guidelines. Nothing in those reports mandated, stated, stipulated any safety risk of children, any closure of parks, anything to do with violations in that regard. The only ASTM regulation, I think that was stipulated in that report was regarding the merry-go-round. And we checked even before we merry-go-round because we kind of had concerns about that too, right? When you were a kid, you played merry-go-rounds and everybody got hurt. So we're like, is this even safe to be doing? And our insurance company came back to us and said, yes, absolutely, you have no problem. So that was the guideline that was given to us. Irregardless, so these guidelines are just that. Borders, which was in our budget in the beginning of February, we had $8,000 allocated to do this expansion. That was taken out of our budget. We wanted to expand the borders and add some more sand to those, and that would put us to my knowledge. And then of course an inspection should be done. We have no problem with
Yeah.
having it done. Make sure it's
So again, thinking about several different things. Don was thinking maybe
Enhance.
enhance. I do like that thought. Lots of things, lots of things that we've heard about high prey is it's a diamond. Meaning a gem, right? Not just that it's a baseball diamond. And people would like to see, well, I would like to see we focus on putting our money where we already have most of the investment and most of the infrastructure. So that would be High Prairie Park over Tobico, for example, which probably very few people know where it's even at, right? And so I'm trying to wrap my head around biggest bang
For your buck.
for our buck. And I think enhancement is the way to go. And if there was a way we could keep it open,
I was just thinking, okay, there is, if you think.
just
about
by
it.
removing one
Well,
venue
okay,
or
How
whatever.
about this? How about this? Would it be beneficial because we flunked? Now, I'm not real happy about all that. I don't like to go backwards, but we flunked. So now let's fix it. Okay, what if we remove all the boards? And before we put the sand in there or do anything else, have it inspected? Because if you're saying all it was move the boards, but we don't know that, we don't really know that, we could try that, but
Yeah,
we would have to take a risk of inspection.
I'm struggling with the boards because I'm looking at the report and the slides have less than 6 feet clearance for each side and don't comply with the use zones. And then right in the middle of that,
Slides.
in the middle of that, the use zone for the swings is inadequate. And those 3 pieces of equipment are relatively close. So I don't,
Do we have
I
room
don't-
to make it bigger?
if you want to expand it outside of the borders.
Yeah, I agree.
And
I
the
don't think,
swing, I believe, is also a border issue.
That I don't think so on that, but okay.
so that's why I say, for me, it's important to have an engineer, a third party involved. Not that Melissa's and her group can't do this, right? But why would you want to take on the responsibility?
And the insurance company said that they
No.
have. an
No,
inspector.
Not even
close.
thinking about
I'm
that.
Not even going, I'm not going there.
Not
No,
even
he's
thinking
not.
about that.
He's not. He's not. Don, what did you find out today about
the
that?
name that he provided is not on the state's website as being a certified inspector. There's a list on the state website of people in the areas they cover and that individual
We
is
can't
not
even
listed
use
on.
the
I
original
lost
guy.
all faith for Paul Olson with that dog and pony show about, yeah, you're insured, let it go. That was the most ridiculous thing I ever heard.
I would have kicked him out.
And
of the
I
house.
I will write him that letter.
But we also found out, Melissa, that the gentleman that did the initial inspection has not renewed his license.
Well, we don't know that.
We don't know that.
The
It's- he's just
website
not
is
on the
showing that
website
his
anymore.
license is up for renewal.
And there's also another caveat when the inspection report was provided in 2019. He was very vague in a lot of his information.
Well, that's what
On the
bothers me
report,
too.
And then he conveniently gave us a quote to fix it for about $20,000.
See,
So there was,
too
I
much
think, a little
stinks
bit of
here.
a personal agenda in that regard, and that's where we had a conflict of, okay, was this being initiated for certain reasons? And maybe not, but it was a little questionable.
And there again, reason for the third party person to be in. That's why I don't like design build companies. Just don't like them. No matter what, there's something in it for them at the end. So I was just thinking about modifying my motion a little bit. And I think for the immediate period, we're still going to have to close the playground because I don't think simply removing the boards will give us clearance on the slide, the swing, the other venues, but we could potentially have that checked out right quickly.
That's what I mean, if we could get it where, okay, it's under construction, but we got, it's gotta move. I don't wanna sit here and go, well, nobody can come out, and look at it for 3 months. I don't wanna hear that.
Well, you're probably going to hear that. But the point is that we're trying to put a positive on
Spin on
this
this.
rather than a negative. And we're letting the community know, as well as Melissa's group, that we want to fix whatever is wrong. So instead of due to ongoing equipment safety deficiencies, due to ongoing renovation.
There you go. Let's make it better.
Does that kind of explain our intent?
Yes, I mean, I think it hits, it does several things. I think it fixes the deficiencies and makes the improvements and gets us into compliance long-term. So,
Melissa can go away knowing that the board's committed to fix it.
We've
yes,
been committed for 2 years to fix it.
I'm going to be nice and not ask my follow-up question.
Our first priority was Whitewater because the Whitewater report was more about space considerations. That some equipment overlapped in their safety zoning. So if you had one equipment needed 8 feet and another piece of equipment needed 9 feet, well, we didn't realize that those couldn't overlap in any way, that you literally had to have a 6, 17 partners.
Sure, yeah.
So that was an oversight and,
We didn't know what we didn't know.
we did, and we read the CSPS guidelines and it was not clear in those guidelines. But irregardless, that was our focus, to get that, spaced out better and to put our efforts towards that. So
And how many meetings
this-
do you think you spent on the campground playground?
Almost every meeting, I think.
Okay,
We go through, almost every meeting, we go through, almost every single area.
that's why there's a question on the outhouses.
We've been talking about the boat launch and what's going on at the park project.
Yes. So
10 years.
bringing this back, did you write down a new motion or no?
Mhm.
Okay, and so would you read that motion
Yeah,
back?
I say Pop amends the motion instructing the park and recreation administrator to close the playground area to public use at the High Prairie Park due to ongoing renovation and install signage to that effect.
I will second that amended motion.
Is there further discussion?
I want a timeline. How long do you think this is gonna take your committee to do, Melissa?
Well, first of all,
I
I'm
just
sorry,
wanna
that
guess.
should have come to the board.
Okay,
So my next, after we took the vote, I was going to ask how we want to implement. But
okay.
if you have concerns before voting about it, let's talk about implementation now. So I say that we didn't have an engineer out at the campground playground. And I think anytime we put 30 or 40 grand into a playground, we ought to have some engineering on
You
it.
think?
I don't think we're going to be that much here. Excuse me. But I still think we should have engineering involved. We could use Fleece and Vanderbrink if we wanted to see if they can do a conceptual outlay for us. I can contact C2AE. They're working on facility stuff for us right now. And so I'm sure that either one is just a phone call away.
I would suggest reach out whoever could get that drawing done quicker.
Okay.
Because I have no preference over the two.
I don't either, as
Timeline
long as
would
we
be
can just get it
Okay,
moving.
so I'll contact them both and say it's a ball up in the air.
Yeah.
And so to answer your question on timeline, Heidi, I don't think I can yet. I just don't think we can. Especially given I do have some experience with trying to find a CPA firm, right? They have to get back to us. So
The PrAC didn't have a vision or anything other than what you got? So you guys didn't do a revision or anything?
I don't really think it's been on their plate. So how about if
Okay.
the board sets a design value? Not to exceed 2,000, 3,000, 4,000,
Oh, I don't even know how much it would cost.
maybe you want an idea of what it costs first. And then I bring that back in July.
That would be fine, because I just,
Okay.
I can see that number being broad spectrum.
That can be
Yeah.
minimal.
I don't know. I
or-
don't
oh my
design
God.
playgrounds.
Yeah.
They don't need sprinklers.
Right.
Fire protection. Okay, so I will contact both firms and bring an idea of cost back to the July. And if for some reason we have a freak opening, which does happen, you know, for example, materials don't get delivered, and if they do, they were damaged. So all of a sudden there's a contractor who's got 2 weeks open, right? That does happen. So, you know, if we have to move quickly, we could always call a special
Yeah,
meeting,
you
question
could.
mark?
Yep, call a special meeting if you have to.
So
Mhm.
I like where you got going with this. I don't have a problem with the side of it. I think if the township board is willing to pay for money to have that done, that's great. It puts a lot less stress on the PrAC. What I would ask is, you have a huge asset to this community that's being utilized extremely right now, especially with baseball diamond or baseball games going on. I would ask that you pause on the closure and get another inspection if that's what you want to do too. Because as I said about this other inspector and what he said in his qualifications, it was very questionable if he was just focused on ADA compliance and very ambiguous in many statements that he said throughout his work. So in lieu of the fact that there was a lot of things questionable in that
That are
inspection.
willy-nilly, can't we get an inspection first before the engineering, just so we know what we're up
And
against?
that's exactly what I was gonna say, because then an engineering firm actually would evaluate an inspectors and then take those things into consideration as well. And some engineering firms have their own inspectors too. I'm just throwing it out there.
I mean,
that-
what's it gonna cost? $700? We fix people's mistakes for $700 all the time.
I'm not of the opinion. I'm still of the opinion to close it and
Well,
if,
I would
and
wanna
if there's a
click on
second,
the
and somebody
okay.
gets a secondary inspector that's licensed and accredited and comes back and says that these infractions can be fixed this way.
Bingo.
I think
You're still gonna have to
we-
close.
on the
until you
information we
inspect it.
have, it's not in compliance and it puts the township at risk. And I'm, you know,
Do you not want to pay for an inspection? You think it's I mean, come on, help me out here. Got to compromise, but why wouldn't you pay for an inspection to find out where we're really at today?
I already have one.
But that's. from
Now I'm
somebody
being
that-
told, well, we really shouldn't have used this person
No,
because,
I get that. I'm already
Okay.
there. Okay, I did that homework with them. We're already there. Okay, so if
but
we have a problem, okay, we have this problem. So let's not go back and go, oops, we really screwed this up. Why not bring in a qualified inspector, get the inspection, because what if for some reason, all we gotta do is pull up those boards? You know,
So then an engineer can tell us that.
if you can get this, but if you can get the same effect, that's fine. But
I don't think any of those attractions have moved.
okey dokey.
And so if there were clearance issues in 2019, there's clearance issues today.
Agreed.
Okey dokey. Sure, Linda.
And I read it and I can understand what it is because there is no drawing. So I would say he did not value.
Yeah.
For the inspection.
It-
Who knows why, but I would say, I would think a licensed landscape architect that is qualified to do playgrounds and or an inspector, either one should be able to clear.
And my thought with the engineering services is that we could accelerate.
Yeah, I
The-
agree with that, but they also need.
And
So that then you could let the kids use the rest.
absolutely. And I think
But you
clearly,
don't have that kind of clarity. It's not that clear.
I think Linda just said it best
there.
out of all of
Boom.
us, right?
Yep.
And so I would not be opposed if the engineer said, oh, well, is all you got to do is eliminate the monkey bars and the wood around it. You'll be good to go for clearances. I'm happy with doing
No,
that
absolutely.
and then reopening it. And then take time to make the design to improve it. And I've got no problem spending money to bring it up to ADA compliance. Because we've got a sidewalk there. That sidewalk, I believe, is at least 36, if not 48 inches wide. And I believe the bathroom doors, without the closures that were recently installed, are 36 wide and would be handicap accessible.
If you have the button so the door opens.
Yeah, well, we just spent $3,000 on a lock.
Right,
So,
so what's another couple for a button? No
yeah,
problem.
door openers are big. Final thoughts?
I'm good with that. I just don't want another project that it's all ready to go and it falls apart and then just sits there. I.e. the dugouts.
Yeah, that's,
I can't, sorry, I gotta look at what's presented to me and where we go with it. But I'm good with doing this plan.
are we done talking about it?
Yep.
Roll call when ready.
What's the motion to close it? Due to ongoing renovation and install signage to that effect.
I believe that
Yeah,
is
that is what I-
the
yeah.
amended motion. Yeah,
Glenn,
Yes.
Pop,
yes.
Bennett, not available. Goss, not available. Balmuth,
Yes.
Motion passes. So I don't know what to do. Park ranger wages is the next item up for bid. So I will be voting no on this just because of policy.
Because they didn't come and interview with you?
And that's been my statement for a very long time. So,
Should we make a motion to discuss?
Yeah, we need to make a motion to discuss.
I'm sorry. Yep.
Make
Thank
the
you for
motion, somebody.
reminding me, Don.
Make the motion. You want me to make the motion? I'll make the motion. Motion to approve 2022 wages for Alexandria DeVol, Jacob Olds, and David Wagner as recommended by the clerk.
I'll second for discussion purposes.
I don't want to lose employees over this. So can we compromise and amend the motion that they have to come by and sit down and have a chat with you? With the supervisor? My problem is they've already applied for the job. There's want here. These are people that want to do this job and they're okay with $17 an hour.
We had this conversation last month and these people are onboarded. They're either trained or fully through. I have met Jacob. Alexandra had left before I got there. And I didn't, Jacob is Tripp is David Tripp, Wagner is Jacob's friend. These folks are embedded on board and being trained. We had the same conversation last month and it's the entire process is the flaw. And so I hear you 100%. And I think we have to address that process going forward. But right now, we haven't done that. And I don't think that there's, the horse is out of the barn again. And so, I supported it last time. I checked the wage scale at Alexandra's DeVol's third season, 1804 lines up with the 3-year wage scale. I have no issue with these. And so we're going to have to address the process going forward, but not approving this is not going to help us solve that.
No,
process.
it's gonna pinch us pretty
So
bad.
there's nothing for me to really debate here other than, I'm in favor of this and so we just got to put a pin in it and deal with that. And wherever that prioritization hits and the million things we have to do, but I don't know why we keep having this, we've expressed our displeasure with the process, but yet the person responsible for it does nothing to help assuage our concerns and continues to follow their own process. So that's got to change, and I'm committed to changing that, but I'm not going to penalize these park rangers.
And so I would compromise just because of what Don
I
said.
I understand
Yeah.
that, but do we go one step further and down the road, or maybe next month or whatever, whenever you'd like to do this, we're gonna either have to amend the policy we have because we have an employee that doesn't understand that policy apparently, or doesn't like that policy, or doesn't want to follow that policy. So we're gonna have to come up with a way to say, hey, if somebody's gonna come here and wants a job, it's under the direction of the supervisor, he needs to be granted an interview also. I don't know how you're gonna fix this other than put another line or verbiage into the policy and procedure manual that says, okay, after they go to the Parks and Recreations manager and passes that interview, then they have to interview with the supervisor.
While all good questions,
I know it's already in there.
I would like to just address what's on the agenda,
Go.
which is the hiring or onboarding of these people. I am willing, I understand what Don's saying, and I am willing to change my vote from a no to a yes, because I understand that, July 4th is coming up. We're gonna need staff. And so I understand the importance.
I don't want to penalize the people that want the job because they didn't get to do the last process that was in the policy.
Well, because of our administration failure.
Exactly. I was gonna say because of our failure, but I thought that sounded better.
No, it's accurate in my opinion. Now, the only other disclosure that I have, Alexandria's dad was my boss a number of years ago at a different municipality. But that relationship, he has passed on at least 5 years ago. So just letting you know that I'm very familiar with the DeVol family.
Very well.
I still don't think that is a problem because they haven't been granted the interview with you.
No, I don't see it
So
as a
I don't
problem.
see it
I
as
am
a
merely,
problem
as
right
any
there.
I
I
I
don't
am
either.
merely pointing out that
That's fine.
I've known these kids for a long time.
Let's go. Let's vote.
Okay, are you good to vote?
I am.
Roll call when ready.
Bennett, not available. Velmuth,
Yes.
Pop,
Yes.
Glenn,
Yes.
Goss, not available.
Motion passes. So being I wrote this motion for someone else, I will read the motion and make it. Motion to discuss who will record the minutes and how will it be paid for?
I'll second it for discussion.
So Heidi, this is your business item.
Yes, it is.
And so is there anybody that has direct questions to it for Heidi, or would we like Heidi to, how would we like to proceed on this matter?
Oh.
I
First,
I would like to hear from Heidi.
okay, well, first, budget time. Gave the clerk extra hours, but she never really told us what it was for. Because of elections, I would imagine. But she doesn't want to take the minutes anymore. But we didn't put anybody in the budget we didn't put any money in the budget to pay someone to do the minutes. Except the clerk. So how are we paying now Lois to do the minutes?
Well, on page 112 of MTA's Authorities and Responsibilities of Michigan Townships 2020 edition, the minutes are the response to the statutory duty of the clerk. So I will also say that it is the statutory duty of the supervisor to be the assessor in the township. And while we do subcontract that out, I am still deemed the assessor of the township legally.
And she can just pass it to wherever she wants.
Well, what I'm trying to say is there must have been board action years ago that said, okay, the supervisor, because we can't get trained people or whatever the case is, we're going to subcontract out assessing. I don't know. I wasn't here. I'm bringing this to your attention as trustees because the same situation does exist in the supervisor's office. And so I don't know how it was covered before, but I submit we cover it the same way. So if it's by board resolution, the clerk brings a resolution to the board, we adopt it, we don't adopt it.
But you admit we have to do something. We can't, I mean, she can't just take money and say, oh, I'm just gonna pay this person. Lois serves under the direction of the treasurer. She's in the treasurer's budget.
And I would think a conflict of office might exist there.
I just want to make sure we're not doing something wrong here.
I'm of the mindset, I think we're going to need to table this until July, because I think that there's questions and there's fellow board members here that are not here that we're going to have to discuss some of this, because I don't know. I think there's budget, I think there's some budgetary concerns. I think there's a question of potentially any, is Lois's position as deputy treasurer, does this allow for it? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I think that there's, I've just got some concerns that if, we didn't budget for it, to Heidi's point, that we have the right to reallocate funds with, a resolution. And I think that if this is going to be the norm going forward, then I think there's going to have to be some calculations and and some redesign of what those
I mean,
roles
do we
are.
have to post it? Should we post these jobs now? Contracted out. Your such job is contracted out.
I understand, but from a point of view, if I wanted to hire a stenographer, for example, right? That's going to be quite expensive, right? And so to have somebody locally who might already be in the audience, like Lois is, to do it, I think that is financially straight up for the township. You know, your question here actually has made me question the process in the supervisor's office. I don't know how the board handled contract assessing. But this
There's
would
one
be,
thing to go out for a contract and there's another one to just give the job to somebody. I mean, I'm not, in Lois, don't take this as offense, okay, but we can't, at budget time, we owe the taxpayers to do what we said, and at budget time, Cheryl was gonna take the minutes.
yeah, and the
So this is an
150
expense that we have to do something with. So I'm good with tabling it.
And the 150 hours were for what?
were
We don't
for-
know.
No, Cheryl said it was for additional deputy time.
Because of elections. I think that was it.
I-
I'd have
I-
to go
no, I
back
think-
and watch.
I think
the
she
tape.
said deputy time, but, and so my thought is that we actually go to legal with this and ask them two questions. Number one, how does the supervisor office contract that out, right? Where's the MCL that says we can do that?
Yeah, I couldn't find that on there by the MCL on you.
I think it's MCL 4162, maybe 3. And then have them just tell us what MCL number the clerk's office might fall under to basically contract out our statutory duties, right? Because that's really the underlying question here.
And you may find that neither of you are allowed to.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So-
exactly. That's
so-
what I'm concerned about.
I mean, you bring up a very valid question, and I do not know the answer to. And in this case, while I understand we want to have everybody here and present, I also want to know the statute that allows us authorization to do that.
Send the question, or can you call legal and get questions answered?
I would think so.
Okay, let's table it and get those questions answered.
And so is the question, what is the question?
I think the question is it revolves, it's two-part. I mean, the supervisor is currently outsourcing or subcontracting the assessing. Is that statutorily allowed? Because and yes or no, and then the follow-up question is in regards to the clerk's responsibility, statutory responsibility of the minutes. Is there an allowance, MCL that allows that to be moved or outsourced or subcontracted as well? Because I think it's, you know, it's hard for me to imagine that the answer would be different for the superintendent or supervisor and different for the deputy. I think but I think we want to be right. And so I think taking a pause for a moment and getting an answer to that question, getting that out of the way, because we could spend a lot of time discussing and moving and trying to put resolutions together. And we haven't even solved the core issue was, are we even doing the right thing today? And so.
When I read this, the question that come to my mind is, what allows me to subcontract my statutory duties?
I couldn't find
I
anything.
wasn't even thinking the clerk. When I read this, I'm thinking, what allows me to do that?
Right,
I
I
do
couldn't find
not know.
anything.
Maybe it's that board will. I don't know.
Well,
And so I think that's the question. What allows any township elected official to contract out their statutory duties? You know, trustees, I'm not sure that you really have a defined list
We only have two.
Okay,
And you can't contract, well, you could contract with the ditchware one. You could just bring in an auditor.
so is that the question I asked legal?
Yes,
That's what I'm thinking.
yes, I agree. I'm not gonna restate it. That's exactly what we need to ask. And so I think we table this issue until we can get an answer on that. And then I think that will help us guide us to whatever next steps are necessary.
I'm good.
Are you good with that, Heidi?
Yep, so I'll take my motion off the table if you take yours.
Let's see, did I second?
I
believe?
second, you
Oh,
made the
yeah.
motion.
I will remove my motion and I will get that question off to legal. And just to be clear, that's going to include the supervisor's office too, right?
That's fine, yes,
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 Great.
blanket it.
yes.
Then we don't have to call back and ask the question again.
New business number 7.
Motion to add amended number 1 to line. Motion to add amendum number 1 to law and order independent contractor agreement to authorize the clerk to sign on behalf of Whitewater Township. Don't you think we should say what we're doing in that?
You
What
don't-
we're amending, that we're,
No,
you don't want to do that?
no,
Okay.
read. Say that again.
Motion to add addendum number 1 to law and order independent contractor agreement and to authorize the clerk to sign on behalf of Whitewater Township. Apparently she got a new contract from this gentleman and they've raised the price 5%. Yes.
Is somebody gonna second that so we can have discussion? I'll second the motion for discussion. Okay, now what's your question?
Oh, no, I was just wanting to know if you wanted the 5% fuel charge in the amendment. But that's okay. You don't have to put it in there.
That's a great recommendation, Heidi.
Well, I was just like, well, wait a minute, you're not telling anybody what you're doing. You're amending number 1, but what are you doing?
And so the specific answer to that is on page
I know it
225.
is.
Yep. However, we always do put a dollar amount in our motions. You're absolutely right about that. And so I assume the 5% fuel charge is on the entire
Oh, yeah.
bottom line,
Oh,
right?
yes.
And so if you would like to make a different motion, Heidi,
Well, instead of saying motion to add amended number 1, can we say motion to addend or to add addendum number 1
well,
as a 5% fuel charge?
what about motion to add a 5% fuel charge?
I didn't know if you needed that addendum number 1 in there or not, because she's changing number 1 here, services to perform the township engaged IC. So she's changing their number 1 on the contract.
Okay.
So if she needs that in there, do
So-
we,
Well, that's not what she's changing. An addendum, she's not changing anything in the independent contractors agreement other than section 3 has terms of payment. Her addendum is saying that I'm going to staple another document to this contract that reads a 5% fuel surcharge will be added to all lawn mowing and cleanup services invoices. So there's no provision in this independent contract. In fact, it's written very simply that, that the IC is responsible for all expenses incurred while performing services under this agreement. And this includes, but is not limited to license fees, memberships, dues, and automobile and other travel
she's got
expenses.
it in the.
It's, yeah, I mean, legitimately, this is a business decision because contractually, he's obligated.
Yep.
Now, there's, the second part of that is, here we are at the end of June. we're in the, let me see if it's, are we in the last year of this?
No, we got one
No,
more year.
One
to
more
go.
year.
we just
And
need
so,
one more year.
The question becomes, is that if, does this business person up and quit for circumstances that they certainly are feeling beyond their control and certainly looking to us to be responsible for it, in which I would argue that A, you probably are not going to get a contractor quickly. Number two, we have, what rates would we get? The new rates are going to be reflective of the current market conditions. And so, and then you got to deal with a breach of contract situation. So this becomes a situation that, that we have a lot of activity and a lot of grounds to maintain. And 5% is significant, but it's not an unreasonable amount to me. I don't see it as, somebody adding some really larger number that would make me pause and try to do a cost value analysis. But, there's the contractual part of me that says, hey, you sign it, you live with it. We'll talk to you at the end of 2 years. But then there's also the fact that we need to service our properties for our citizens and
And he's already said right here, if I don't get this fuel surcharge, I will need to discontinue service as our operating costs with fuel alone is making it no longer.
But to Don's point, that's his breach, not ours.
Exactly.
And he went with a 3-year contract.
Yes, he did.
So, I fully understand Don's point of view. And so we have two ways to look at this: strictly from the business point of view, which has a legal component to it. And then we have to look at it from the hassle point of view. How are we going to cover our shortfalls?
Oh, he's
Right?
got you here.
And so I'm of the mindset that we stay with the devil we know.
I would agree with it. That's what I'm trying to articulate. I mean, I guess, I wasn't here when this was signed. So, we signed a contractor out of Charlevoix, which, and I'm not dousing out Charlevoix, but Charlevoix is a long drive. And I didn't appreciate the fact that he had put in there that he would discontinue. I mean, I appreciate him doing that, telling you he was going to breach a contract,
Yeah,
but
right.
on the other hand, realistically, that trying to find a replacement at an unknown cost in today's environment, and that wouldn't even entertain, I wouldn't think that the cost to sue for a breach of contract over something of this magnitude doesn't have the 5% is going to be significant, but it's
And then touch
So
it.
who brought their phone with a calculator on it?
Y'all did.
So I don't remember if it was last year or 2 years ago. But it must have been in 2021, whenever we signed this contract. Because even though it's a contract, I felt we should have gone out for sealed bids because we were approaching the $20,000 mark. Okay. So let's just throw a number at this 5% and humor me and say we're at $25,000 all in for all the parks and all the mowing and all the cleanup.
Okay, tell me what you want.
it's $1,250.
That's what I'm driving at. So 5% of that $25,000 number is $1,250. Again, for $1,250, I'm going to stay with the devil I know.
So am I. I just did.
And I'm gonna shop it next time.
Well, to your point, it's in, the dollar amount here should have been put out to bids. I hope we do this when it comes up. So,
Right.
So,
Right.
and he may come to us and say he doesn't want to do year 3, and we can discuss that through at that time.
Absolutely.
So I think for purposes of this discussion, I'm ready to vote. So.
I am too. Heidi?
Okay, I'm good.
And no change to the.
No change, because it's notated on the addendum that she's attaching, that it's 5%.
Yes.
Okay.
Roll call when ready.
Valmuth,
Yes.
Goss, not available. Glenn,
Yes.
Bennett, not available. Pop,
Yes. New business number 8, delay marijuana applications.
I'll make a motion to delay the acceptance of the MMFLA and MRTMA applications until. Can I change the date?
You can do whatever you want.
12/31/22.
I'll second the motion for discussion.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion?
I can tell you that even if the vote comes back not in our favor, our house will not be in order. That means that's a September meet where we'll be already into the September meeting, but we make more arrangements. We need some time to get our house in order. And every time we think we're moving forward, something puts us back another meeting. So this is way, and I'm really tired of doing this every freaking 3 meetings, 3 months, 2 months. At least with a 12/31/22 deadline, hopefully by November, by September, not even September, hopefully by November, we at least have our house in order. So that we'll know where we're going. And I just don't want us to keep this date, we keep, we did forgot about the marijuana date. Oh, we forgot about the marijuana date. This at least goes, okay, you got 6 months to get your house in order. No matter what happens with the vote, you got 6 months. It might be it might be a month too long, but if my projections are right, it's gonna be perfect because we seem to go 3 months, make a mistake, 3 months, make a mistake, 3 months, make a mistake. So I added an extra month.
Thank you, Heidi. I'm trying to play this out, timeline in my mind. I agree with you. I think
There's
this,
no way that
I think
pot
this-
stuff's gonna be
I
done.
think this-
'cause- Go ahead.
I think this 1 or 2 month, is not adequate. August 2nd is the election. And our meeting is August 9th. Okay. There is so much slammed on this ballot. And I'm not even sure, we may know a straw poll of what the results preliminarily look like, but we don't know for sure that we're going to have anything absolutely locked down as certified results. Okay,
Correct.
so the August 9th meeting is not really going to have any productivity towards this issue. So now you're meeting in September, and we still have the marijuana subcommittee who still has work in progress. They still have to bring that forward. That still has to be vetted. And so we bring it to a point, but
You got another step past that committee.
so
because-
then we get to September 16th. Reality, we're not ready at that point. We're still absorbing the results of whatever that election result was. So now you're looking at October. I'm thinking November rather than December. But that's just my internal timeline. But I am just not looking forward to saying, okay, we're going to push this back to August 12th or September 1st. I just don't know that we're going to be ready. And I think we just keep beleaguering this. I think if things happen differently, I think we have to assess those situations. And if we
We can always move it up.
we could come back with a different change, but I am in agreement to push it back. I think November is the better solution. But that's just my opinion on that.
So I'll vote no on the December thing, right? Only because Ardella and Cheryl are always concerned that too much time then allows for fiddle faddle, right? Whatever fiddle faddle means. No,
Well, I can tell
my
you what-
turn,
okay,
my
go
turn,
ahead, go ahead.
my turn.
Go ahead.
But I don't understand why we've heard nothing out of the marijuana subcommittee. And so What's going on there?
Well, I could.
That's a
tell you.
rhetorical question, by the way.
Okay,
That's a
okay.
rhetorical
Okay,
question.
good. I don't want to answer it.
So, and then I take a look at the city of Traverse City, who will start accepting applications soon, if not already. But it's going to be a year from now before we let you know. Okay, we've already invested about 2 years into this, city of Traverse City I'm talking about. So I'm just gonna say that I want to keep the gas on this decision. I think it's already turned into a dugout,
Oh, absolutely.
and this falls directly at either planning commission or administrative indecisions, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
So if we want it, then take it up. If we don't want it, then take it down. So that's my reasoning for not supporting a multi-month. I just want to keep the gas on, get the decision done.
Well,
I,
I'm
What
gonna
is your
pretty
view
much.
on an appropriate date or a?
and that's a fair question. That is a fair question. I don't think we'll be ready personally in December 31st of 2022. I don't think we'll be ready then.
Oh, I can guarantee probably because
And
we
I
keep
fully-
making the same mistakes.
And whatever Heidi just said, we're new at this, right? And I already know we have to change 59 and 60. The laws have changed, so our ordinances are already outdated. We will not be ready. And nobody's even talking about that at the marijuana subcommittee, or maybe you are, I don't know.
Well, no, I don't know what that committee's doing. I can't explain what's happening in there right now.
And so, again, we've got so much work to do. We just undertook this haphazard.
Whatever you want to do, but just every 2 months, we got to push it out some. and-
Okay, well, I'm just telling you my thoughts on it, and they were, Don's question was very, very respectable.
And so did you come up with a date?
So is there a middle ground that you feel keeps this on the burner? That's what's June, July, August, mid-September?
Our meeting in,
I'm just trying to get a sense for, you know,
well, he
what,
said he might.
or
go
are you thinking
November.
longer than?
Yeah, are you
12/31?
thinking longer?
I don't think.
I honestly believe that's where we will be.
Oh, that's where
Okay,
we're gonna
that's-
be.
that's
That's
what I
why I
think
went
is
to
gonna
December
happen.
But that's not what you
31st.
suggested.
But that's not what
Okay,
I'm
fair,
suggesting, no. because-
Our meeting in November is,
No, the motion's out there. I don't think December is unreasonable. I really don't. I'm just gonna vote to keep my foot on the gas because that has been a reoccurring statement from Ardella. If we give the planning commission too much time, and that
Well-
went to like the moratorium, if we give them too much time or the
Okay,
moratorium, then
I-
they won't get their work done.
I'm okay with that, but the problem is, like I said, we go 3 months, oops, we made a mistake. We go 3 months, oops, we made a mistake. We keep hiccuping and it's every 3 months. So I'd rather go into it. I want to go at least to November. So if you want.
Well, your motion was December. I say we
Correct.
vote on it. That's what I say. Roll call when ready.
Go.
Goss, not available. Glenn,
Yes.
Bennett, not available. Pop,
No,
Dalmuth,
Yes.
motion passes. And so that's 12:31, Heidi.
Yep.
I'm sorry. I should have asked
12/31,
Lois. That was
2022.
12:31. Okay, new business number 9, we already handled the electronic locks at Highbury Park. Number 10, proposed consultant interview. And we are about 14 minutes away from our deadline. And let's see, I think the motion is highlighted there, and I'll make it because I think this is a Heidi thing again.
Yep.
And so I will make the motion to include Randy Melnick. This is going to be as written, Lois.
So it
As
says
on
I
page,
move, it's gonna be
well,
motion.
I'm making the
by-
motion, yeah, so we will to include, right? You see that where it begins motion to include?
Yeah.
Second, well, third
Yeah,
line, I guess. So that's where my motion will start. Motion to include Randy Melnick in an interview with the following individuals: trustee Heidi Volmuth, PC Chair Mangus, and Supervisor Ron Pop. And have Bob Hall place the want ad in multiple papers and a few other services. That's my motion.
I'll second it for discussion purposes.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion?
I really toyed with this because the P&P manual says, you know, the supervisor interviews everyone. Then I thought maybe we take this one step further and maybe I should insert the other trustee instead of the supervisor. But I didn't know if we could then, after we interviewed them, submit it to you. In other words, have you do the final interview. So I didn't know how to get all three parties in there without maybe leaving somebody out. So I didn't know how else to do this. But we do need to give the gentleman an interview regardless, because of the issues that were discussed about conflict of interest. So I'll entertain changing any of these people that want, you know, that for the interview. We have to give this gentleman an interview because the PC has expressed that they really want to work with this gentleman.
And may I just jump ahead of you for
Please go right ahead.
one item, please? And Heidi, all I would say is that this would be a consultant. So I hope the entire board, not just the supervisor, would make the
Well,
decision
that's what
to onboard any professional service, right? So that's the only thing that I would maybe not correct you on, but ask you to consider that this is going to be a board thing.
Well,
not
right,
just-
well, what I figured was either eliminate you. And I could eliminate you and put Don in there and then send them to the board as a consultant and let them interview right there at the podium for the other three. That way you wouldn't have to take time out of your day, you know, we'd eliminate the responsibility off you instead of giving you more responsibility. But this way we'd be done and then it would just be at this point, the board level. And I can change my motion to put Don in there versus you, but I didn't know how I could do that with a consultant because you're basically the head of the chain of command. So I didn't know, well, serve at the direction of the supervisor. So I don't care if it's contracted or not. If that's your top priority, then that's where you go. I'm open for suggestions on this.
As flattered as I am, I'm fine with Ron doing that. As you said, we're going to get it to the board decision anyway. So I see no reason to change that. I'm fine with the initial group because, you know, I'll have my questions prepared when we cross that bridge, if we cross that bridge. My biggest concern is, you know, I think with Bob Hall, and I haven't worked with him much, if at all, and I just feel like there should be maybe some little more discussion about the direction that we want him to take in terms of creating the want ad. When you say, you know, a few other services, I think we should specifically say, you know, internet candidate, you know, I'm not searching for the right words there, but you know, the Indeed or whoever, And then, and instead of saying multi-papers, I think we should define Traverse City Record Eagle, Elk Rapids News, and if there's another third one. But I think I think it's too open-ended. If, given that task, I think it just leaves for a wild imagination, and I'd rather narrow
Close
that,
it.
I'd narrow that down a little bit in terms of what we expect him to do in this motion. To develop and place the want ad in the Traverse City Record Eagle and the Elk Rapids News, any other paper that
Well,
would
isn't
know,
there a
and-
planning paper or something, Ron?
sorry?
Isn't there a planning paper, Ron?
Okay, yeah, so I'm
I didn't
I'm
know
not
what
saying
it was
that that's
called.
limited. I'm throwing that out there because, I don't know what other resource. I just think we should be more definitive in that motion, to just help Bob. Yeah, I don't think we have to go into, ABC
Do we even
detail,
have
but
to
I think
go
we
to the
need to put it.
papers? Could we just go to his? Don, I didn't know or what it was called. There's
So
Bob Hall
let me
has
jump in here
networks.
for a
Yeah,
little bit.
please.
Okay, if that's all right.
Yeah.
So I don't think Bob Hall should be involved in the administrative duty of the board. The administrative duty of the board is to find employees and contractors.
It's perfect.
And so I think that really falls to the board's responsibility. And so we could go out and seek another proposal. And in fact, I did. I brought it back in March already, right? From Beckett and Rader, a company that I will put as A++ level, top shelf. If anybody ever gets the opportunity to listen to John Icalangeli, please do so. It is worth your time. He is a principal of Beckett and Rader. So they come through and they gave us a proposal of, I recall it being about $24,000. And so that's pretty pricey, but again, that's the best Cadillac you can buy, in my opinion. And so we've kind of got an idea of what a Cadillac is. Again, I think we ought to invest in our people and invest in good people. I have had the opportunity to spend hours with Mr. Melnick. And so I'm ready to hire him now before he gets away. And I don't care if he's at 35,000. That's my level of respect for the different communities that he's worked in and the different work that he's provided. He still has communities coming to him
every day.
So
that he's worked for.
So with the fact that you have spent that much time with him, then based on that, I think I would rather have the opportunity to sit with him.
Yeah.
And do this
Can I add one thing?
with Mangus and Heidi to interview him.
And
I'd rather get that up front, close time. I didn't realize you had spent that much time with
Yeah.
him. Not to circumvent you, but I would rather take that opportunity to interview
Can
him.
I add one thing?
on March 12th, I made my initial contact with him.
I'm gonna add one thing to that. If you looked at the PC packet from last month, it's either in last month's or the month before, and you see what this gentleman submitted to
On
help
Article
them
25.
on Article 25, it was like, oh, just sit down now and help us out. So we have to do something because we need to move forward. So whatever you guys want to do, if you want me to change, I'll change my motion right now to, remove Bob Hall from it and add Don. I mean, let's move on this. So what do you guys want to do?
I'm good to replace Ron Pop in that situation.
And
I would be happy to interview Randy Melnick in place of Ron Pop.
And I'm good taking Bob out of there until you decide what you want to do. So Lois, I need a new motion. Or do I have to amend
Can
my
we have a
motion?
little more discussion
Go for
first?
it. Go.
Okay. So the only thing I think the motion is missing is get an idea of cost from Randy, right? So I've already said that what my feelings are of this person, and cost is not my primary concern.
I'm hoping he
And-
brings
and
that
so-
to the interview.
So if you could somehow figure out a way to get an hourly amount, a contracted amount in there. Maybe we could even supply the previous contract for the previous consultant for you folks to use as a baseline while you do your interview.
That'll work.
That'd be very helpful to have as interview prep, yes.
I'll take that.
So I don't know that that needs to be in the motion.
I don't either. How about if I just,
But hopefully that would be the goal of whatever meeting takes place with them. Randy and I have not talked about money. Money is rarely on my top 3 concerns.
I don't usually talk
when,
about it
when I'm
either.
looking for
Right.
an attorney or a consultant. So,
If they want the job bad enough, they'll be throwing it on the table with you, so it won't really matter. Okay, so I need to amend my motion.
actually, I think my motion
Oh, I'm sorry.
to include Randy Melnick in an interview with the following individuals: trustee Heidi Fullmuth, PC Chair Mangus, and trustee Don Glenn.
Heidi was the second on that, weren't you?
Yeah,
Heidi, you
but-
were in the second.
I'll second it. Are we moving 3 second?
Further discussion? Roll call when ready.
Okay, let's take your time.
Mhm.
Reese.
Did you say trustee Don Glenn? How did you say that?
I believe it was just replacing my name with Don Glenn. I believe that's the only thing I did.
Yep.
I think you
Use
deleted the
word- You
last
didn't
part.
use the word trustee.
Oh, I did. Yeah, yeah, for sure I
And,
did.
and we took Bob out of the picture.
Yeah.
Yep, completely.
No, I don't have a question. Just to make sure you get noticed.
Wait, think I'll forget?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I might, don't forget to send it.
Sorry about that. Glenn,
Yes.
Pop,
Yes.
Goss, not available. Velmuth,
Yes.
Bennett, not available.
Okay, so that brings us to new business number 11, Township Roadmap. In the interest of time, and the person that really requested this particular item at the board level is not here. Could we just move this to the July?
You just want to
agenda?
move everything to July?
No,
Okay.
no,
Go
no.
ahead. You can move it.
but Ardella specifically wanted a map like this, and there's a lot of information on this map. And I would just like her to be part of the discussion, if at all possible.
Absolutely.
I would be fine with that.
I'm okay with
Okay,
that.
so we will move new business number 11 to July. And we can certainly move this item to July if you want to regarding computer purchases.
I'm okay with that.
I am as well.
New business number 13 is website posting cancellation. I'm not inclined to ask the board to move this one because this is actually coming from the public. It's a public request. And so I will make a motion to have the clerk's office regularly update the website calendar for any posted meeting cancellation that occurs, providing at least 18 hours should be notice of such cancellation to the public.
18 hours of notice?
Yes. Provided that the the meeting's canceled 18 hours, right? So
Oh, okay. Is this gonna help? Well, aren't they more concerned that the meeting got canceled and there was no notice posted? And the meeting, wait a minute. Think about this for a second.
Okay.
Motion to have the clerk's office regularly update the website calendar for any posted meeting canceled, occurs, providing at least 18 hours notice of such cancellation to the public. I guess at least it could be less than 18 hours. Okay.
and we can remove the 18 hours because as we discussed, maybe there won't be 18 hours of
That's,
notice,
yeah,
right?
so do you want to move, you want to remove the time? The hour limit
Sure.
and just maybe say meeting cancel that occurs at any time?
So as I recall, this has been seconded, correct?
No.
Okay.
I thought I seconded. Or did I do the motion?
I thought you were fixing it first. Okay,
So just to make the record clear, I will make the motion to have the clerk's office regularly update the website calendar for any posted meeting cancellation that occurs, providing at least 18 hours of notice of such cancellation of the public body to the
To
public.
the public. I'll second it for discussion purposes. So you would have to almost say, motion to have the clerk's office regularly update the website calendar for any posted. How about any newly posted or meeting cancellations that occur in a timely manner? What do you got, Don?
I am not, I'm not opposed to the 18 hours. I think it's just, in my mind, so I'm looking at, I would suggest maybe adding just a couple more words there. Any posted meeting cancellation that occurs, providing at least 18 hours of such cancellation to the public, under the condition that the clerk's office received that cancellation at least 18 hours. I don't think you can, I think somebody cancels a meeting an hour before. I think it's, it's difficult to just stop what you're doing. I'm saying, if the clerk doesn't get notification,
We gotta tag the door. At least.
I'm just saying, it seems, I like the guideline of an hour in there, and I don't,
Let's
if
look at-
if the clerk's office received the notification of cancellation 3 days before the meeting, and for whatever reason, wasn't able to do the posting until 2 hours before it or whatever, that's a concern to me. There's got to be some parameter around this.
So I apologize for not succinctly creating a motion here, but that was my train of thought. So if the meeting is canceled 1 hour in advance, we're not going to be able to change the website and it won't matter. Right?
Correct, but at
So,
least if somebody
my
was in the
turn,
building.
my
Okay,
turn.
go ahead.
But then the chair of that meeting or somebody from that meeting should be tagging the door. Okay?
Thank you.
Understood. My concern is that the meeting get canceled, like we're thinking we're gonna cancel the one for the 21st or the
Mhm.
23rd, 5 days in advance, and it never gets posted. I want the public to know that the website is going to be updated at 18 hours before the meeting, and if it is canceled at that point, they can get there. That's what I meant to say, right?
Okay.
So, but I can easily see another word path here. And so motion to have the clerk's office, this is just talk, not a motion, okay? Motion to have the clerk's office update the website calendar for any meeting cancellation when the office is notified
There you go.
of such cancellation. So now we're asking for the clerk, and this, Cheryl may have, some pushback on this, because we're not allowing her much time, right? So retrospect, maybe we ought to have her input on this.
Take the motion off and table it and ask her how she wants to handle it.
Well, it is her office that has to update that. And I recognize that fact. What I'm just trying to guard against is something that 3 days before that, for whatever reason, through the hustle and bustle and whatever work, it gets, misplaced on a to-do list, doesn't happen. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but all of a sudden, 3 hours before the meeting, oh darn, I forgot to do this. I think I like the fact that the public, because this is where it came from, can have confidence that if they look at the schedule, this calendar at
And get their
18 hours
car
in
and come
advance,
here.
that they know that meeting's still on schedule. Now, if something happened in that 18 hours, and it's unfortunate, but then there's that department head is responsible for putting on the door. But I think that to give the public confidence, I think that should be 18 hours.
So
I just, and I guess I'm not hung up on the 18. I just think there needs to be a number where the public can say,
12.
I can look at that and go, I know that meeting. At least what I saw at this time, that meeting is on. And so that's the confidence I want to give the public to look at that calendar. So
12 hours?
well, hearing where the conversation went, I think now we should have the clerk involved in
I
this
think so
decision.
too. Can we table
And
it?
so I am going to withdraw my first objection of making this decision now because it was a public request, right?
Right, you gotta redraw your motion. I'll redraw mine.
So I think it's
I mean, we got to know what's doable because otherwise
Right.
we're just setting failure up. And that's
Exactly.
insane.
I mean,
Exactly.
I would like to see whoever is the chair of that meeting. And have a buddy. If you don't want to do it, then delegate someone. But if you know that meeting got canceled and it's only an hour notice, drive down here and put a note on the door or send somebody. I mean, everybody lives close. They could call me up and say, could you go put a note on the door? I would put a note on the door.
and I really think that's where the responsibility lies is with the chair.
Chair. It relies with
So
the
they have
chair.
access to the internet and it's been canceled and anybody's welcome to call me and I can put a cancellation notice on the door. I'm happy to help, right? So,
So we're going to rescind the motion.
Yep.
And then
but I think we resend it and then we just bring this back in July too.
Okay, I'm good with that. I'll take my second off the
I
table.
feel better with the clerk having input on this.
Looking at the last 3 items.
Isn't it 2 items?
No,
No,
because
there's
we
3.
added
16.
campground inspection earlier.
Yeah.
When everybody was here. So can we table 14 and 15? And finish up with just 16, which is the inspection?
Yep,
I am fine with tabling 14 and 15 to July.
I'm good.
And so,
Because I think there was a little,
Did you say 14 and 15 or 14?
Yes. So 13 was the website update meeting cancellation, right?
Yep.
And then 14 would be Park and Rec succession plan.
Yes.
15 would be review my report on the planning commission meeting of 3/11.
Yep.
And so 15 would be campground inspection.
Okay.
Can I just make a suggestion here for both of you? And I will send Ardella and Cheryl a note also. You need to watch the PrAC meeting because I don't think they understood exactly that you were extending an olive branch. See, you're,
What business item is this?
okay, I can't ask, oh, we
We're
tabled.
not in
it. Okay,
comments.
I'll put it in business comments, never mind. Can't talk about it. Go on.
So in the clerk's report, apparently the playground out at the campground is finished. She's invited us all to come out and look, and I think we should. But I also believe that we should have a safety inspection very similar to what was completed before we open it up to the public.
I agree 100%.
And because I don't know the number of people that do this, I'm gonna recommend the same company do it.
Which company is that?
The one that did it in 2019.
Not the inspector, dude.
Yeah.
He's not accredited right now.
Well, I'm sure there's more than one
Well,
inspector
I'm
with
just
the
saying,
company.
don't use Jack.
Okay.
Unless you find out he's got numbers after his name.
There's 4 pages of inspectors.
Yeah, pick one.
So, yeah, we
So
can,
pick
we
one.
can pick one. So I don't care who does it. I just think that it needs to be done before we open it up to the public.
I'm trying to recall. I happened to be out there last week, Saturday, or I think it was Saturday, maybe it was Sunday. And although I didn't see any children playing on the playground, it's not cordoned off. Seems to me like it was basically open and ready for play, but
I'm sure it
and
is.
so, but I do agree that I think we should, I
Awesome.
think with all the renovations and I'll tell you, it looks good. Looks good. So I think that,
wanna see
I
it
think
when
what
it
we ought to
rains.
do, before we go any further with it, I think we ought to get an inspector out there and just make sure everything's hunky dory. I suspect there's a few things that they're going to, I've now read more on parks and planning and development than I thought I would ever know. I've got a vault of useless knowledge on that, and I think that the inspector is probably going to find some minor things to work on. So I think it would behoove us, so we don't find ourselves a year or two down the road. Let's do it now while the park's fresh and get this done. And I think Cheryl's team did a good job getting that part, when I saw that when I was in there in April, taking some hiking through there, and the park was opening, I was very hesitant to think that was going to be in the state it's in, but it's done. They did a really good job, and really, so I'm a supportive of getting the inspection out. How do we want to go about that?
Would you be interested in contacting one of the plethora of pages and see who we can get?
I don't have any problem trying to schedule an inspection. I'm just wondering, should that be a PrAC activity? Am I stepping?
It probably should be, but at this point, unless we do it, it ain't gonna.
Yeah, you need to get it. That needs to get
Yeah,
done.
I'm very
right
happy
now.
to try to make some calls and get some things.
So I would be willing to authorize like $1,500.
I was gonna say, if it was $750 in 2019, double it, and you might be close.
Well, $1,500 will require Cheryl's signature on a PO. Anything over $1,000. So
That's
that's
fine.
that's why I went to that
That's
number.
fine.
So
That's
there'll be
fine.
at least 2 board members
That's
who
fine.
agree,
That's
right?
fine. That's fine. Do you need a motion?
Sure. How about motion to authorize trustee Don Glenn to contact and arrange for playground inspection at Whitewater Township?
At a cost
Campground,
not to exceed $1,500.
Cost not to exceed $1,500.
I'll second the motion.
That was really fast.
It was, contact and arrange.
Playground inspection at Whitewater Township Campground not to exceed $1,500.
Campground or playground?
The playground at the campground.
Whitewater Township Park Playground.
Playground.
Sure.
That's what it's really called. Exceed. Five. Who did that?
I made the motion.
And I
Heidi
second. That's
seconded.
okay.
Want to hear the motion again?
No, I got it.
Okay, roll call when ready.
Donald,
Yes.
Bennett, not available. Pop,
Yes.
Glenn,
Yes.
Doss, not available.
Purchase order out for that. She'll want to know the name though that you select. So
I'm gonna have to make some calls, so
Sure.
I'll work with Cheryl. I'll work with Cheryl and get that all set up.
Okay, so we are into board comments and discussion.
I have one.
Okay, short and sweet, Heidi.
Very short and sweet. I would like everyone that's in this, at this table, to watch the PrAC meeting of the other night. It is all.
What was the date?
It was Monday, 6/13.
13.
I think I requested a link to
Yep,
that.
and I
was the
got
same
it. I
link.
got it downloaded.
Okay,
I just
Yeah,
haven't
I think
had
that
a
was the
chance
same
to
link.
get
Did
it
you happen to
out.
get the May one?
Well, the
I haven't.
reason,
Okay.
the reason,
If you
Um,
can get the June 6th.
do you want to know the reason why or no?
no,
Okay,
so why don't you just send us the link? That way we don't have to give you a thumb drive and it makes it so much easier just to go to the link.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what I would do.
Yeah, that's, she sent that out.
No, you said you had it downloaded.
Well, yeah. I get it first.
Oh, so you've down,
Then-
gotcha. Yeah, I just want the
mean,
link.
It took so long that I had to leave.
it was a long meeting. It's-
All right, so we're gonna go out. Any other board comments or discussion?
None by me.
Zoom land, please use your raise hand and we will call on you. Hello, Connie Highmore.
You can always count on me for a comment. I'll be fast. I am so happy about how this meeting went, how much discussion, how much kindness and listening skills. And listen, I think we can get there. I think that we should get there. I think that the township is due that. And I hope that it continues when everyone's present. Good job. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
I don't see any other hands up, but we won't eliminate you if you do pop up. Anyone here in the township hall wishing to make a comment?
I'd like to follow up on Connie's comment. Thank you for working together. Thank you for getting things accomplished. As far as High Prairie Park, thank you for not listening to the insurance guy about just going ahead and keeping it open. We can't put ourselves out there like that. He made the comment, it's very seldom happens. It only takes once. So thank you for that. I have a question on and it was kind of brought up a little bit tonight about the recording of the minutes of the meeting. And I know you can't answer, but does Lois get paid for taking the minutes of the meeting and for Zoom? Or is that a combined thing? It was just a question I had. I don't know if anybody can email me and respond to me that way. Randy Melnick, thank you for putting him on the docket again. I think he's gonna be a very valuable asset to our township. If we lose him, we're losing out on a great asset that I think we could have. And another thing, the consistency on zoning and the meetings on the calendar, that's all we're asking for. We're not asking for anything too out of the ordinary, just consistency. A lot of us are new at this. We're learning. Now I know. But it's a matter of if consistency and following through. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for getting along. Thank you for putting aside differences. And as I mentioned earlier, and I'll make this short, we're not against the township. We're not against the board. We're not against the PC commission. We want to work with the commission and the board. That's what a good resident does, is tries to work and help. Same with the survey. Whatever we can do to help to get that survey out, ask us, we'll help. That's part of being a resident. Thanks.
Thank you.
The first thing I think that most of the residents want is the master plan to be completed. So anything you can do to get to that done. I did request the chair to set some township meetings this summer before the end of September because of the winter departures. But I don't know if it's going to happen. But I would. Everybody talks about the master plan, we don't have a master plan. I would like to have that done. And I think many of the residents would be happy to be able to refer to that completely. The ARPA funds, I know that there was a GT survey, Grand Traverse County survey, and one done by Networks Northwest, I believe. And I don't know if the township board members completed those. The one for, the GT Regional Infrastructure Project Inventory, it asked for many things, the city, township, the local organization. Brief description of any project or program that you have started, the estimated completion date and the start date if you haven't started it. I don't know if Whitewater Township has any projects that we've started or in the works, but if we haven't responded to any of these surveys in that fashion, I don't know how they're going to think that we deserve any money. I'm just my thought. I have a big need for the redesign of the township website. I've been looking at different townships, and Old Mission Peninsula has a great website that they've redesigned. They have a section called Participate Old Mission, and you can go on there and add your conversations, ask a question, thoughts for the township. And when they ask questions, they post the question and the answer by the supervisor or the clerk or the treasurer. And then they ask questions about planning Old Mission, park survey, local history, culture, bicycles, pedestrian, and it goes on and on and on. So that way, the public can ask you questions and you can respond on your schedule. And
That's pretty good.
and then also somebody may have had the same question, but when they read the other person's question and the response, they're not going to call you and ask the same question. So that's a benefit. The other part of it is forms like FOA requests and all that can be interactive. So if you don't want to deal with the public, you don't have to. You can fill out the form and press send, and whoever's supposed to answer it has it, and they don't even have to deal with the public. And if that's what you want as a public servant, you can get there. But there's a lot of things, and I'm hoping with the survey that we've completed that we ask for an online form. I don't know who does that or how to request it, but thank you.
Vicky Beam on Bags Road. It was really refreshing this evening. The the comments that went back and forth, it wasn't just all of you agreeing, you actually spoke through, worked through. That's what we've been asking for. And I agree with what everybody else said. We're not just asking for yes men or yes women, but to actually listen and work together. Again, I said something about the insurance in the beginning. Not only do I think that you need to address the insurance agent, but I think you might even want to talk to the insurance company. Are they aware that their insurance agent is telling their customers that? Just something to be thinking about. I'm not really sure if this can happen. We've brought it up several times, master plan and a town hall meeting. It is difficult. I know we're sounding like broken records. This has been a long meeting. Yesterday was long. I'm thinking we don't have one next Tuesday or Wednesday. But it would be helpful to have the community be able to come together, not just those that are making it their way during these meetings. So if there's any way to put a town hall meeting together, I think we would all greatly appreciate it. And you're going to hear from everybody, not just those of us that are being persistent and maybe a pain in the, you know what. And the comment that was made, I'm glad that you pushed out, and Linda actually asked me to thank you pushing out the date for the marijuana. The comment that was made about, taking too much time, really, does time matter when we're trying to do something and make it correct? I don't think that, taking a little bit more time to make sure it's thorough and accurate is too much to ask for. And just keep Chick-fil-A in mind. I think we're going to see a lot going on with that. And I'm going to keep using that. I didn't mention Bags Road. I'm opposed to it. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Anyone else here in the township hall? Yeah.
Ditto.
Ditto. Okay, all right. And I don't see anyone else's hand up on Zoom, so I am going to assume that we are all good. And so I'll
Just cancel it.
I don't think so, because this is a special meeting. And I don't think we have any business that has been moved to that meeting.
No,
I think everything's been
So we
moved
just
to
had to
July.
cancel. So we just canceled it, right?
So I would think that I would inform the clerk that we don't have any business for that meeting, and
There you go.
I'll do it tomorrow.
Okay. 18 hours.
Motion to adjourn, anybody?
Second, I make a motion to adjourn.
I second the motion. Let's rock.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? At 10:28, 10:29, roll call, please.
Boss, not available. Vamos,
Yes.
Glenn,
Yes.
Pop,
Yes.
Bennett, not available.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
And can I get a